What? Yeah! What? What? Check this out, right? What? What? Yeah! What? What? Check this out, right? What? What? Yeah!
Like for sure, totally. And Atari has this outfit that's like so awesome, I am sure. Okay, now you can get an Atari video game cartridge free. Like totally. That's like so tubular, you know?
Buy 2 of these great hits, and Atari will send you any one of these great games free.
That's like so super, super nice. To the max. I'm like so sure, totally.
Buy 2, get 1 free.
love, you need extra love. Supersize it too, you know you want to. What's not enough, grab another quarter. Not ashamed to be the love, you know you want to. What's not enough, the re-elected don't move. White House terms up, you know you want to. What's not enough, solo cheese when you want to. Eat till you snap, you know you want to. What's not enough, go free through. Get some more of that stuff, you know you want to.
Burger on Wednesday, a free bacon cheeseburger on Thursday, a free fisherman's fillet on Friday, and a free Frisco burger on Saturday. It's one delicious day after another with the everyday buy one, get one free menu forecast only at Hardee's.
Good morning, everyone. I thought I'd start off today with some Yona music because less work for me, and Yona's music is awesome. Plus that girl at the beginning, the Valley girl. I've been called that so many times. I was like, this is great. This video is awesome. Plus all like the buy one, get one free stuff. Man, back in the day, food used to be cheap as shit. It was wild. But good morning, everyone. Good morning, Yona. You fix that VCR, Jimmy. Right, it needs a little bit of cleaning. I gotta get one of those cleaning VCRs so that way it can clean through and fix all what's in there. It's probably just some dust. I probably just have to blow in it. Everything will be fine. Oh, I love it. It was so good, so good. And then I heard your voice in there too, the changing voice. I heard the you want to in there. I was like, oh shit, there it is. Oh, it reminded me of Kyle Kalinske. So yeah, that's what we could do. Welcome to What, where Kyle Kalinske is buy one, get one free. I'm so done. I'm so done today. Good morning, though. Good morning, Brandy. Good morning, Holly. Good morning, Les Bones. Who else is up in here? Okay, that's about it. But good morning, everyone. I hope your day has been fire. I hope today has been really good for you guys. I hope yesterday was really good for you guys. I had a really relaxing day yesterday. After, for some reason, it seemed like all the clipping and uploading yesterday went by faster than normal. I don't know what happened yesterday, but yesterday's clipping seemed to go by smooth as shit. So yesterday was really nice. Hopped on some Fortnite, played some Fortnite yesterday. Got to do actual like researching for work today, so I actually have articles and things to talk about, which is really nice. So finally got some things to talk about because I got off of Fortnite at a decent hour last night. So yeah, we got things to talk about, even like some Twitter stuff. Kyle Kalinske, the BOGO bozo. Yeah, Holly. Yeah, that's what I noticed that this morning as well. So we'll be probably talking about that. I don't know if I have that up in my I don't have it up in my things yet, but remind me. Yeah, definitely we'll talk about that today too, because that's just something that came out this morning. So Yeah. Assistant DA in Oklahoma got arrested. Jeez. What did he get arrested for? Interesting. I would like to know about that. Yeah, I've got some what did I find? The coup on Germany that was going to happen with the that the police arrested, the pre-crime police arrested. I noticed that Philly has this gas station in Philly hired some armed guards. San Francisco, I saw Jimmy Dore talking about it yesterday. I thought it was really interesting that San Francisco approved of killer robots. They're allowing robots with like bombs on them. The tension in Ukraine and Russia is getting a little bit more serious. Putin is starting to threaten nuclear war. And so I wanted to watch a little video of MSN's response of how they're taking it, which, you know how that goes. You know how that goes. And then the Supreme Court spouses thing, how they're like, I don't know, they're covering up the spouse's jobs or something. It's a conflict of interest. I just started reading it this morning, so I'm still learning all about it. I still need to talk about the baby formula shortage. Amber sent me like a boatload of articles about it, and I haven't talked about it yet. And then Joe Evans this morning. So yesterday, freaking Elon like replied to a tweet yesterday about putting like bedrooms in Twitter company. And I replied that to me, it was gross to see, like, you just literally fired a bunch of people that wanted to work from home, and now you're making people work at home, like sleep at work. And it seems as though this is just something that goes on in things, because Joe Evans sent me an article this morning about Amazon had a housing initiative for low-income workers, but never really did anything for it. So yeah, just a lot of stuff has been going on. A lot of stuff has been going on. So we'll check all those out today and see how that goes. Good morning, Sally. Good to see you over on Twitch. You'll send me the article in Twitter. It needs a trigger warning. Okay. Did I talk about the murders in Idaho? Are you talking about those 4 kids in the dorm room? I haven't talked about it yet on this show, because I'm still waiting for more stuff to come out about it. But it seems like there's never anything new, because they can't find out who the suspect is or like anything. So my stepdaughter has been really, really, really keeping a close eye on it. I haven't really that much yet, just because there's so many other, like, in just the scope of like who's being murdered in this country and stuff, it just seems like there's a lot more interesting or a lot more authentic. I guess the Idaho shootings were authentic, but like, more needy people that need discussing about than, not to belittle the murders itself, but it's always just seems like, people of color that die, nothing ever happens and never gets talked about, but like a couple of white kids die and it's like all over the news for months and months and months. So that's kind of why I guess I'm just kind of biased against white people or something. I don't know what it is. I've been paying attention a little bit to it. But I told myself if I really wanted to get deep into it, I'd just call my stepdaughter and see what happens. But I have not really paid attention too much. Yeah, the 4 students, it does sound complicated for sure. Your friend told you about it? Yeah, my stepdaughter was telling me about it the other day when I was talking to her, when we were talking about the tooth fairy stuff a couple weeks ago. And I just haven't, I don't know, it just seems like another group of white people that died. It's like, what's that one girl that was riding around in the van with her boyfriend and he murdered her, and then he went and like suicided himself in Florida. Like, that was huge. And then there was that one woman who and her 2 daughters that was murdered by her husband, and she was like an MLM. There's always like this pretty white girl that always has, center of attention on the news when it comes to these kind of murders. And I feel like the Idaho one is kind of like the same thing. Like how many other murders have been going on while we're still trying to figure out the one from Idaho. And just, like, I get it that they want it to stay up, and I understand that the families really want to find out, but I don't know. Yeah, I'll probably talk about it one day once we start getting more information, like the suspect, like we actually find out who a suspect is. But as of right now, it just seems like a lot of confusion. A lot of police and stuff don't really know what they're doing. And I don't know, like there's conspiracies about cover-ups and stuff there too. So I'm just trying to figure out what's going on before I really get into it. You know what I mean? So yeah, white person gets murdered. It's a national emergency. Exactly. A colored person gets murdered and nobody talks about it. So, the family members are out there on the street corners with signs saying we need money for, a funeral. That's what happens with those people. And so I feel like those people deserve more of a public attention than a group of white kids who pretty much has the entire mainstream media on their side. So for sure. Apartheid Clyde Musk. Yeah, right. That's so true. Yep. What else has been going on? You guys are gonna make me get started on news like 18 minutes in. I don't want to work today. Just kidding. I will work. Sheesh. Okay. Well then let's start with some Twitter stuff. We'll do the something's going on with the wives of Supreme Court justices where they don't have to talk about what their jobs are. They start looking if the person of color had a criminal record to justify their murder. Yeah, that they would find the suspect quick as shit if it was a person of color for those 4 Idaho kids. Absolutely. But I'm pretty sure, that's the whole thing that doesn't make sense about that entire situation is like 2 kids survived in that and they were in the basement the whole time. There's not a force of entry or anything like that. So I'm thinking it's just, another kid at the school, maybe. I'm not even sure. It's just really weird how all 4 of them passed in the bedroom, but then in the basement there were 2 still alive. So it's very confusing. But yeah. So this right here, some stuff has been going on, I guess, this morning all over Twitter about Supreme Court justice spouses. So this person tweeted, lawmakers have just added a provision to the National Defense Authorization Act protecting Supreme Court spouses from having to reveal any outside employer in the name of security. If it passes, Ginny Thomas's professional entanglements would effectively be state secrets. Interesting. So this person put Clarence lied about her employers for 20 years by leaving her employment off his financial disclosure forms submitted under penalty of perjury. And see, there's a couple of different things. Ginny Thomas believes that she's above the law. So this is from March 31st. Federal law requires that spouses of Supreme Court justices disclose payments that they have received. Ginny Thomas received more than $680,000 for the Heritage Foundation, and yet somehow the Thomases failed to report that. And see, now they're about to get away with it.
I've seen Republicans make and that others have made through the long career of Clarence Thomas when it has been known that his wife is an activist, that she works with conservative groups, she was involved in the Tea Party, that essentially it's unfair to go after a justice for whatever their spouse's politics happen to be. She's an independent adult. She's going to do what she wants. And this is Democrats barking up the wrong tree. What is your response to that?
Well, I have 2 responses to that. The first one is no one's going after her for her political point of view. The question is her participation in an insurrection against the government of the United States of America. That is something that is appropriate to investigate. And that then raises the question of conflict of interest for a sitting justice to have anything to do with a case involving that insurrection. But the second part I want to point out is that we have all kinds of times when if you are in a position of public authority, like a Supreme Court judge or justice, then you do have to disclose certain information about your spouse, things that other folks out of the public wouldn't have to do. And the specific example here is that federal law requires that the spouses of the Supreme Court justices disclose payments that they have received, something that Clarence Thomas and Jenny Thomas have failed to do in violation of law.
I know you noticed that they had to add like the January 6th insurrection stuff into all of that. Like, make your point, Miss Snaky Warren, and leave the January 6th stuff out of it. Just talk about, the corruption of the Supreme Court justices and their spouses. Why you got to bring up the January 6th?
Times. She received more than $680,000 from the Heritage Foundation, and yet somehow the Thomases just failed to report that. So I'm sorry, I think the Republicans are the ones who are just trying to throw up some smoke and hope people will start looking in some other direction. That's not going to happen.
Same with the Democrats, though. She always like that. That's the typical Democratic talking point. Blame the Republicans. Like, Elizabeth Warren, do you not know that your previous just stepped down Speaker of the House's husband is doing the same exact shit? It's not just the Supreme Court. It's the entire Congress. It's the entire Senate. And Hunter Biden. So it's, the fucking presidency too. So Trump's family, Biden's family, it's all the same. They're all doing it. Exactly. Corruption is so bipartisan these days and so blatant and conspicuous. Conspicuous the corruption. They both give each other cover by acknowledging the obvious. Yeah, that's right. They give themselves and their own friends cover by blaming the other side. And that's the way they're able to get away with it for so long, because everybody is so black and white. There's the good versus evil. There's never any of the gray area when it comes to any kind of politics, to figure out that, they're all in the gray area. There's no black, no white, but they'll never do that. So Virginia Thomas urged White House chief to pursue unrelenting efforts to overturn the 2020 election. So in her text message to Meadows, Ginny Thomas spread false theories, commented on the cable news segment, and advocated with urgency and fervor that the president and his team take action to reverse the outcome of the election. So she's very politically active as well. And I like that this person says Ginny Thomas doesn't get to fart in her room and walk out because someone made a door just for her. Let's see. This misreads the provision. I'd wish you'd read it with your usual care. I helped write it, so I know exactly what it would do, and it would not have the unfortunate effects you forecast. To hide who her employers are, so he wouldn't have to rescue when their cases came before the court. He lied about them for 20 years. Yeah, let's read this one really quick. Oh, of course, you're going to make me have to present it the hard way. Here we go. Justice Clarence Thomas. Wow. Justice Thomas amends 20 years of disclosure forms with wife's employees. Supreme Court Justice amended 20 years worth of financial disclosure forms today after a liberal watchdog group questioned the omission of his wife's place of employment. It has come to my attention that the information regarding my spouse's employment required in Part 3B of my financial disclosure report was inadvertently omitted due to a misunderstanding of the filing instructions, he wrote in a letter to the committee that handles the report. The Ethics in Government Acts of 1978 requires all federal judges to disclose their spouse's employer. They are not required to list the total income. So they're actually supposed to disclose their spouse's employer. Thomas's formal recognition of the errors follows a complaint filed Friday by the group Common Cause that had expressed concern about the apparent gaps in his disclosures as required by law. Yep. Long Dong Silver. Justice Thomas sits on the highest court of the land, is called upon daily to understand and interpret the most complicated legal issues of our day, and makes decisions that affect millions. Common Cause President Bob Edgar said, it's hard to see how he could have misunderstood the simple directions of a federal disclosure form. We find his excuse implausible. Well, he just passed it to where he doesn't have to do it anymore, so why didn't you fix it back then? This has been in law since 1978. Why are we allowing the Supreme Court to turn into a rogue court. So anyway, Thomas amended the reports today, noting that his wife, Virginia Thomas, drew income from the Heritage Foundation, a conservative think tank where she worked from 1998 to 2003. Thomas also noted that she worked at Hillsdale College for 3 months in 2008. None of Thomas's forms covering activities through December 31st, 2009 mentioned his wife's work at Liberty Central, a conservative political education group she co-founded in January 2009, in part to energize Tea Party activists. Very, very interesting. Good to know. We also continue to be puzzled by omissions of Liberty Central as Virginia Thomas's most recent employer. Thomas had come under fire last year for an article posted on Liberty Central's website, originally attributed to her, that suggested the recently passed healthcare legislation was unconstitutional. Critics suggested that her comments compromised Justice Thomas's impartiality on an issue that will likely come before the court in the future. Yeah, that's absolutely right. She is obviously a strong individual who has a lot of opinions and certain biases, and she's married to a Supreme Court justice, and you know, they sit and they talk in their bedrooms or in the living room. You know, the influence is there. There could be influence from her for him to make, you know, official rulings as a judge, as a Supreme Court justice, and she can influence those decisions by what her biases are. So yeah, absolutely. I mean, either she needs to go out and get herself a regular ass non-political job, or he shouldn't be Supreme Court. I think that Supreme Court justice, if it's going to be such a high position in politics, that they need to keep that kind of thought process of, you know, what your life was, what your family's life was, what your spouse is doing with their career. That all needs to be taken into account when you have such an important job. And this is a lifetime job as well. So it's not like these people are going to get fired, or, you know, they're going to be out in a couple of years, voted out. This is a lifetime position for most of these Supreme Court justices. So yeah, this is completely illegal and shouldn't even be allowed to happen. But, you know, what do we expect from, you know, our Congress is out there doing the same damn thing too. So Liberty Central released a statement at the time saying it assiduously avoids taking positions on the constitutionality of issues. That means they don't want to say anything because they don't want to get in trouble for doing things bad. Virginia Thomas stepped down from the day-to-day operations of the group in December 2010. That's that. What that says. Let's see what Washington Post has to say. She urged, you're going to make me pay. Then never mind. I'm not reading you then. You lost me. You lost me. Let's see if there's any more. Not just Jenny. Clarence hid her employment for 20 years. It's Barrett's husband, Robert's wife, possibly Jackson's husband. They're saying Jackson's husband is a doctor. Let's see. See, I'm still like learning a lot of this stuff right now. So I'm still like trying to see what else is going on so I can make my full-on opinion for it. Where does Talent Scout and original Mama Bear Jimmy Thomas go to pick out boys? Jesus. Twitter is just a fucking shithole. How funny. Look at that. Okay, I get it. You can find the clearly unconstitutional provision Jane's referring to, which would keep the identity of SCOTUS spouse's employers secret. Page 4,408 page bill. Jesus Christ. That's insane. Yeah, that's pretty much all I know so far about what's going on. I still don't know yet. I have no idea. This is pretty much all I know so far about what's going on with this. I mean, is it still trending on Twitter? No, it's not even trending on Twitter anymore. Putin is trending on Twitter. Why is Putin trending on Twitter now? I'm just going to hear everybody else's bullshit. Yeah, I don't see anything else about the Supreme Court justice on here. SCOTUS. Spouse law. I don't know. AOC says Justice's family was paid by right-wing groups for years. Oh, this is back in June 25th, though. Jesus Christ. So they've been talking about this for a while then. Participated in the case was a flagrant violation of the federal law requiring recusal from cases in which it is known by the judge that his spouse has interest in that could be substantially affected by the outcome. Yeah, we were just talking about that. SCOTUS hearing interesting bankruptcy case this morning. If a judgment is entered against married couples based on fraud, if one spouse can the other spouse discharge the debt in bankruptcy? What? You make no fucking sense. Because of Ginny Thomas, we need a new law. If your spouse or family member helps incite an insurrection to overthrow the government, then your SCOTUS membership card gets revoked. It's clear that Clarence Thomas is using his SCOTUS seat as a weapon and should resign. Proud Blue 22. Jesus Christ. I hate how they turn it into like the left-right, blue-red politics stuff. Just say that he's a bad person, and there could be Democratic ones in there that are doing the same damn thing. So, yeah. Okay. Yeah, that's all pretty much that I know what's going on with that shit. I don't know what else is going on with it. It seems like there's just a lot of craziness going on. Another thing that happened, like I was saying this morning, so hold on, let me pull this up too. Right, scrotus or scrotum. Exactly. So another one that was happening that was breaking last night. What's up, Cape Socialist? Good to see you again. So this is what was happening. I think this was going on yesterday. So this person put breaking: Elon Musk is the first person in 70 years to successfully create new housing in San Francisco, which I know it's a joke, but San Francisco Gate posted an article saying that Elon Musk is reportedly using space at Twitter's San Francisco headquarters for staff bedrooms. Okay, this is what I read: bedrooms. So, living quarters, not just somewhere to sleep really quick. Like you say bedrooms, you make me think like, they've got drawers with your clothes in there, your bathroom amenities. This is a bedroom, not like, you couldn't just say a room, or a bed for naps or anything like that. You said bedroom. So I thought, you're making these fools live in this place. Good morning, Lula. Good to see you as well. Thank you for stopping by. So when this person posted this, Elon posted with a reply of laughing things. So I retweeted it. Where was mine? I put, not funny. You fired people who want to work from home, and now you're making people live at work. So Idaho Joe said that Bezos had already done it in Bellevue, called it campus housing. And I put a sad face. So this is what he sent me about this. So I wanted to at least go over this and talk about it, because it's not the best idea ever. You know, it's not a great idea. Like a lot of people are starting to do the quiet quitting, and we're starting to realize, you know, what our worth is when it comes to work. And then you got Elon and what Joe says, bozo over here, making, you know, low income housing for people so that they can live where they work. Now, okay, that's fine and dandy. You want to, you know, I'm not okay with people living at work, like having to live there with the job. But what if, because there's always that vulnerability of what if you get fired? Then not only are you without a house or without a job, but you're without a place to live as well. Like that's a double fire on a regular person that Elon gets to sit there and be like, haha, fool, you just gone now, and probably go on Twitter and make fun of that person for doing something like that to him. So that's why I say that this is wrong. I don't really approve of bringing bedrooms into housing. So this is what I got shared this morning is Amazon's housing initiative does little for low-income workers. Of the thousands of units Amazon has secured as part of its pledge to create affordable housing near its new headquarters, just over 200 are reserved for the lowest income renters. So they're not even like doing real anything for low-income people. Amazon sought to tamp down fears about displacing residents around its new Northern Virginia headquarters with a pledge last year to create and preserve thousands of affordable housing units in the DC area's notoriously tight market. For now, though, Amazon's effort will likely do little to move the needle for the region's lowest income residents, many of whom are already stretching their paychecks to make rent every month. Yup. Armis writes that of more than 4,100 units secured so far, just 215 will be set aside for residents who make 50% or less of the area median income. So he's not really actually helping anyone out. He's just trying to sell off apartments to become a landlord. Housing advocates worry that rising costs will push workers farther out from their job centers, creating additional traffic and emissions that they are forced to commute longer distances. That's another thing too. Gas is so expensive and people are having to commute ridiculous amounts of distances just to go to work. So in an interview, Catherine Buell, director of Amazon's Housing Equity Fund, said the problem is too large for even Amazon to solve on its own. Amazon doesn't own the affordable housing challenges, and governments are primarily responsible for managing the housing issue in their community. We are here to be a partner. You hear this? So this is them taking accountability off their shoulders and putting it on the governments, when the governments are going to say, well, you guys have the money, we give you subsidies, this is what you should be doing for the people. So it's always going to be a back and forth between Congress or, you know, the government and private companies, is this back and forth of, well, you do it, well, no, you do it, well, no, you do it, no, you do it, and we're never going to get anything. It says it right here. I mean, Amazon even said it himself. They don't own the affordable housing challenges, and governments are primarily responsible for managing the housing issue in their community, even though housing is completely privatized. But we're here to be a partner. Okay. Enough of that bullshit. Let's go on. The article goes on to describe the difficult situations facing many workers in the regions and similar efforts by other tech companies to create more affordable housing for their employees. Some saw those efforts as a tactic. What? They don't tacit recognition from these tech titans that they also need to stabilize housing prices to attract their desired workforce. Homes in many parts of Silicon Valley have become prohibitively expensive, even for well-paid software engineers, and Northern Virginia is not far behind. Yeah, that's all they care about. See, they even said right here, like out of 4,100 units, only 215 are going to be for low-income housing, and that they're not responsible for managing the housing issue. But like Silicon Valley, Northern Virginia is getting expensively or ridiculously expensive to live, because out of 4,100 units, only 215 is going to be for low income housing. The rest of that, 3,800 and whatever, 900 and whatever, units are going to be for people who can't afford it. So it's going to be for the rich people, or for the richer people, or people that can't afford that kind of stuff. So you're not actually, nobody's taking accountability for helping the homeless get a place to live and some jobs, and, you know, the down and trodden, even though that's, you know, in on our Lady Liberty. But this is how we treat it. We're just always gonna continuously be back and forth, and nobody's ever really gonna get help for housing. But I'm pretty sure a lot of these housing are just for people who are employed there anyway. So even if you do get a house there, as soon as you get fired, which they probably will eventually to do, I don't know, employment cuts so they can make more money, you're going to be not only out of a job, but you're going to be out of a home as well. So that's how I say about that. It doesn't end. It's gross how bad it is. I mean, there's got to be like more, right? What would it be like? Twitter bedrooms. There we go. So yeah, this is all it was coming out. Bidding San Francisco building officials to investigate Twitter headquarters for reported makeshift bedrooms. Oh, they're investigating it. Okay. Forbes reported Twitter employees returned to the company's SF San Francisco location on Monday to see the new CEO installed several bedrooms on different floors with mattresses, drab curtains, and a giant conference room, telepresence monitors. Since the report, the San Francisco Department of Buildings Inspections received a complaint about the headquarters. Several offices at Twitter have apparently been turned into motel rooms for workers to live in, contrary to code. Patrick Hannon, communications director, said in a statement, the department investigates all complaints and initiates its investigation within the next 72 hours with an on-site inspection. We need to make sure the building is being used as intended. There are different building code requirements for residential buildings, including those being used for short-term stays. These codes make sure people are using spaces safely. Everyone in San Francisco deserves a safe place to live, work, play, and sleep, and no one is above the law. Hanan added, if investigators find the building does not meet code, they will issue a violation. The investigation comes weeks after Musk told Twitter employees that they will need to be extremely hardcore, work long hours in a high-intensity environment if they want to continue to be part of the social media company. So there you go. You fire the ones that want to work from home, tell people that they have to be really hardcore, work long hours, while, half of their employees are just been fired. So now they have to work extra hours to make up for the people that just had to be fired. And now here's Elon's fix. So if you're tired, instead of having to drive, long roads, here you go, sleep at work too. So this is fucking wrong in so many goddamn ways. I'm telling you, I can't believe that they're even like, this is a normal thing. It's gross. Yeah, exactly. More gentrification, Yona. Exactly. On November 1st, Twitter product manager shared a photo of what appeared to be her sleeping at the company's headquarters, tweeting, "When your team is pushing round the clock to make deadlines, sometimes you sleep where you work." Musk said in a now deleted tweet in November he would be sleeping at the Twitter headquarters until the organization is fixed. That's you, bro. That doesn't have to be your employees. So Musk wants bright young peeps to give their lives over to living and working at Twitter 24/7 in return for great pay and share options. It's the American dream for the PMC, right? It's so disheartening. Musk responded to the report of the building inspection on Twitter Tuesday, saying the city has incorrect priorities and attacks companies providing beds for tired employees while tagging San Francisco Mayor London Breed. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you're right. All big tech and Silicon Valley startups are the same. They absolutely are. There's no difference. BBC says Elon Musk turns Twitter into a hotel for staff. So there it is right there. Conference room converted into a bedroom. That's crazy. One image shows a room with a double bed, including a wardrobe and slippers. Huh. Interesting. An ex-coworker said the new Twitter boss has been staying at the headquarters since he bought the firm, probably because Grimes kicked him out. Last month, emailed all Twitter staff saying they have to be extremely hardcore San Francisco's Department of Building Inspection has confirmed it is investigating potential violations following a complaint. Mr. Musk says the city was attacking companies for providing beds to tired employees. So here he goes defending himself. In a now deleted tweet, he posted that he would work and sleep in the office until it's fixed. BBC has given pictures of the sofa at Twitter being used as beds. Another conference room has an alarm clock and a picture placed over a made-up bed. There's your wardrobe. See, even closets for your clothes, man. It's turning into like a studio apartment. They went on to say that Mr. Musk regularly sleeps. Last month, completed his Twitter takeover, emailed, okay, only exceptional performance will constitute a passing grade. Jesus Christ. He's disgusting. California State Senate. I would have quit already if I was working there. Twitter told the BBC on Wednesday he's now making them sleep at Twitter, the workers. It's clear that he doesn't really care about people. He doesn't care about the people who work for him, right? A Department of Building Inspection official told BBC's U.S. partner CBS News, we need to make sure the building is being used as intended. Look at that. Even sofas are even being turned into beds. Oh, my God. So gross. I'd probably get fired just for sleeping all the time. Well, you made it a bedroom here, so I'm going to use it. Geez. Forbes broke the story. Is this a whole nother one? Yeah, it's a whole different one. So yeah, that's what's going on with the apparently businesses wanting to make people live in their offices. But if you work from home, then you're going to get fired because you're lazy and you don't care about your job. But you can live at work, though. The hypocrisy is thick. It's thick. Here's San Francisco Chronicle talking about it. I mean, it could, if it's illegal, I know that Elon Musk is going to go cry to somebody and be like, it's not illegal. What I'm doing is just fine. Other companies are doing it. Yeah, exactly. Capitalism is clearly inhumane. San Francisco officials are investigating it. Okay, let's see. Modest bedrooms featuring unmade mattresses, drab curtains, and a giant conference room, telepresence monitors. He confirmed that the company had installed beds and criticized the mayor for scrutinizing the company rather than focusing on the city's drug crisis. Here he goes, being a typical Republican, facing out, pointing the direction or pointing the blame in the direction that has nothing to do with what's going on at his job, but he's got to sit there and compare the two. The city's Department of Building Inspections is seeking to conduct a site inspection for potential violations and has reached out to the building manager for more information. And that, I believe, is that on that. It's disgusting. It's gross. It's disheartening. It's sad. And a lot of people are just like some people on Twitter were just like, oh, well, it's just how it goes. This is how the world is, Like somebody yesterday replied to me and put here, like this one. I don't even know who this is. The notorious ABCs on Twitter. I don't know who the fuck that is. Said that we have staff areas with beds for naps and shit. Folks like it. Like, gross. Yeah, I bet they like it because they're having to work their fucking asses off and they just want somewhere to go to sleep without having to travel a buttload of miles. But it's still not. It's not what you don't work your employers to the bone to where they feel like they have to sleep, or they need a nap at work. Maybe you should, maybe we should do the 4-day work week. Shit like that. Why does it's just because that's the way it is. It's the way it's always has to be. No, not at all. It's disgusting to me how people are just like, oh, well, that's the way it is. And some people like it. It's not the way it should be, though. So, shit, so happy it's Thursday. Nice. You're good, Lana. Good to see you. Thanks for stopping by. Here, I'll leave that up for you. Thank you for putting that up there, Lana. You're awesome. So what else do we got to talk about today? We did the Supreme Court one. I just talked about the one on Twitter, so that way I didn't forget it. Philly's gas station, wife settles, German coup. Here, we'll watch. So shit is starting to get serious again over, the Ukraine border and stuff. And so what's going on was, I guess Ukraine used drones and has been, or did drop some weapons or missiles or whatever down on Russian soil. So Putin is starting to get angry, threatening of nukes again. And I thought it was really interesting. This one was good. Thank you. Okay. So I thought the CNN thing was really interesting. I was trying to find stuff for it, and I started watching the CNN thing. I don't know why the CNN article came on here about it, but it was very interesting to me that the way that they think, and it's actually kind of gross, not just interesting, but it's kind of gross, the way that their thought process is when it comes to this war, and what Zelensky is asking for from these people or from our government, asking for like weapons that are banned by like 100 countries and stuff, and like how we should just freely give it to them. And this stuff is absolutely wild to see how the left is handling what is going on right now, saying that Ukraine is winning, even though Ukraine's like the size of Texas and has like older weapons and stuff. Man, just the full bootlicking of the Ukraines right now on the left side of politics is disgusting. And so I was like, oh, this is a good one. We could sit here and get mad and you get angry and start talking shit about CNN. So I was like, all right, this is good. I'm sorry. Yeah, exactly. What the actual fuck? It's crazy what's going on right now. All right, so let's watch this.
Dan Rice, special advisor to the commander-in-chief of Ukraine's armed forces, and he told out front that these types of weapons are 5 to 10 times more lethal than Ukraine's current weapons, and they are more effective against Russian personnel and armor. And here's why. We'll show you a graphic here. The first one shows the blast area from just one normal high explosive round. The damage that bomb lands about 160 feet. Now let me show you a cluster bomb, the ones Ukraine is now asking. 88 little bomblets go out. They scatter over an area of more than 320 feet. That is why Ukraine wants them. If they're going to aim at a group of Russian soldiers, they don't just have one hit and it spreads out. They can kill a lot more of them. Will Ripley is out front live in Kyiv tonight to begin our coverage. And Will, what is the latest there tonight?
Well, I've seen the impact of those cluster bombs firsthand. We met a woman who had one go through the wall of her children's bedroom. These are very serious business. Ukrainians also developing drones that are flying deep into Russian territory, drones that have hit strategic air bases as close as 500 miles to the Russian capital, Moscow. You have President Putin threatening nuclear weapons and already using 1980s Soviet-era nuclear weapons on Ukraine. He's just launching them as dummies right now without warheads. But they're landing, they're lobbing themselves into buildings, and the Ukrainians know that these missiles were built in the 1980s to carry nuclear warheads, of which Putin has plenty. Is that a sign? Is that a signal for the people of Ukraine? Is it an attempt to try to exhaust their air defenses? Either way, the Ukrainians certainly know what's at stake here. That's why they're launching more counteroffensives. They're defending Bakhmut, which Russia is trying desperately to take to demonstrate some level of success on the battlefield, because they've had a string of humiliating failures. There's also word tonight, Aaron, that there is another potential front in this war. So we've talked about the Donetsk region to the east. We've talked about Kherson to the south. Well, now up by the Belarusian border, there are troops on the Belarusian side mobilizing. They're calling them military exercises, but
military exercises right up against the Russian border. That's how we get away with, starting even more war and things. We just say it's a military exercise. Okay, you guys, come on now. You're doing it right on the border of Russia. You think Putin's going to handle and tolerate that? Nah, they aren't. But go ahead and keep calling it military exercises. Y'all are going to get yourselves fucking nuked, man. I swear it.
Hundreds and thousands of troops are expected to be gathering there in the coming days. And the Ukrainians are also there starting to dig trenches, starting to build in reinforcements. This is why they're asking for these cluster bombs and any other weapons possible.
Hi, Sid the Oreo. I am from the United States of America. Unfortunately, I'm in California.
To prevent yet another potential ground invasion. Could it happen in the coming weeks? Could it happen in the spring when things warm up? Because temperatures are really plunging here, the official start of winter later this month. They don't know all the answers, Aaron, but what they do know is that Putin is likely going to throw everything he has into this war, and they're going to try to do everything they can to stop him.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Thank you very much, Will Ripley. And obviously ominous, considering that Belarusian border is where the troops had all poured into that original offensive and attack on Kyiv itself. Well, as I mentioned, the exclusive reporting tonight, Ukrainian officials pushing the Biden administration and members of Congress to provide the Ukrainian military with cluster munition warheads. Now, these are the weapons that I mentioned Russia has been using to devastating effect. They are also weapons that are banned by more than 100 countries. So let's go to Natasha Bertrand in Washington, who broke this story. Natasha, what?
Yeah, cluster munitions. I think it even showed it earlier while I was checking my phone. What is it at 3:12? So this is what a normal bomb does right here. It's just a singular bomb. This is the bomb that he wants, that Zelensky wants right here. This is what it does. So instead of hitting just a singular target with the shockwave going out, it's a bunch of multiple targets in a huge area that could kill off a bunch of people. Lots of people have died from these kind of bombs. That's why they're banned by 100 countries. But Zelensky is begging the Americans to hook him up. And I think that, we fucking might. They're considering it. So it's disgusting, and it's absolutely gross to me that we're still going on with this war, calling it, military practice and sending banned weapons to them. It's disgusting.
Officials have been weighing these requests by the Ukrainians for these cluster munitions and have not rejected those requests outright. So what we've also learned is that the Ukrainians have been asking for these munitions for months. And obviously it's a very controversial request because, as you laid out, these are bombs that explode and launch dozens and dozens of tiny little submunitions that then explode themselves. And part of the risk, just apart from the fact that they can, affect such a large group of people, such a large area of land, is also the fact that many of these submunitions, when they explode on the ground, don't actually explode. And so, like landmines, they kind of just lay around until people and potentially civilians encounter them. So this is very controversial. The Biden administration.
Oh, that sounds even that sounds even worse. So they just lay there until somebody encounters them and then they blow up. So they're like thousands of little landmines that are waiting to explode. Yeah, we're turning this whole thing into Vietnam all over again, it feels like. This is not okay. What is going on right now? I bet these fucking like Lockheed and Northrop and Raytheon are making so much fucking money. Why do we allow this?
Is weighing it, but they say that they're not necessarily considering it seriously at this point, primarily because Congress has actually imposed restrictions on the U.S.'s ability to send these cluster munitions overseas. Now, President Biden can overrule that, but that would require kind of an extraordinary determination that the administration does not seem prepared to make at this point.
They better
However,
not.
The Ukrainians have been saying this could really be a game changer for them on the battlefield, and the administration weighing it as they do with all of the other Ukrainian requests for weaponry, Aaron.
Okay. All right, Natasha, thank you very much. And obviously a significant step there. Let's go now to the former defense secretary and former CIA director under President Obama, Leon.
Now, this is the guy we got to pay attention to, man. This guy thinks that he's just so fucking smart and that he's the guy that's going to get in, into the people in power's heads. he's the guy that we got to watch out and listen to what he says, because yeah, this is bad.
Panetta. So Director and Secretary, of course, the Ukrainians are saying that this would be a game changer. Do you believe that the U.S. should provide Ukraine with these cluster munitions, even though, of course, they are banned because of what Natasha said, some of this damage that they can cause down the line to civilians in more than 100 countries? Should the U.S. provide them now?
I think it's well that the administration consider this request very seriously. Look, the Russians are not playing by the Marquis of Queensberry rules. They've used cluster bombs. They're sending missiles into schools, into hospitals. They have no regard for human life. The cluster.
Wow, the villainization of Russia when Ukrainians have been doing the same fucking thing too, like the omitting and just the omitting of information about the other team, like this team player bullshit, man. It's the pointing one finger and not looking at the three pointing back at you. I swear to God. And he's like even telling them to consider giving Zelensky these bombs that are banned in 100 countries, because Russia is literally in a war with Ukraine right now, doing exactly what Russia should be doing in a war with Ukraine. I mean, Russia is like a bazillion times bigger than Ukraine. You really think that Ukraine has a fucking chance in the world to win this? Just end the expansion of fucking NATO and all this shit would stop. But no, you just think that Russia's attacking Ukraine for no fucking reason because it wants Ukraine, it wants to own Ukraine. But it just doesn't want it to be part of NATO because it doesn't want NATO up on its fucking borders. Like, how many other countries' borders does America need to be a part of, like, and to be in? It's just starting to get ridiculously out of hand. And now they're sitting here on CNN saying this shit out loud while omitting all the necessary things that you need to take in for your backstory to understand the perspective that's going on right now. It's just disgusting to me how CNN and people watch this, like millions of fucking people watch this and just sit here and listen to this guy and go, yeah, red or blue and yellow, go Ukraine, let's do this. The Russians are evil. They're fucking humans. They're human beings, and Russians or Ukrainians do the same fucking thing. It's wild.
Cluster bomb is designed to go after a military operation where you've got military units that are gathered in the battlefield. I think if there are some conditions with regards to the use of those kinds of weapons, I think it is possible that they could have that kind of weapon. They've got to be able to defend themselves against what the Russians are doing. That's absolutely essential.
Okay, they can defend themselves, but they're only defending themselves from what Russia's doing because people like us started it. America started it. We tried to expand NATO. But Red Scare, Russia bad. Boo.
If they're going to succeed.
And let me ask you about what the Russians are doing. Putin, of course, now is personally making a nuclear threat and referring directly to ICBMs, right? Which would be, he's talking about the U.S. and Russia, right? He's making that very clear. You know him. You met him when you worked in the Clinton administration, when you worked in the Obama administration. He's now saying not just this threat, he's saying the threat of nuclear war overall is increasing. Those are his words. If he were to use nuclear weapons in any way in Ukraine, and he's also now making it clear he'd do a first strike, how would you want the U.S. to respond?
He would do a first strike. He's only reacting to what Ukraine is doing. Man, you push somebody into a corner long enough, they're gonna fucking swing. I'm sorry. But you keep pushing him into this hard thing, trying to tell the world that Ukraine is winning and Russia's losing and Ukraine's doing all this and we need to defend Ukraine and support Ukraine and Russia's the bad guy. That Putin is getting pushed into a corner by like countries, multiple fucking countries right now. You think he's not eventually gonna start swinging? I'm sorry, but anyone does that. Anyone would do that. Either they would start swinging or they would fucking have a panic attack. And sorry, but Putin doesn't look like he would sit there and have a panic attack. I'm a regular fucking citizen in California and America, and I can guesstimate this pretty fucking easily. They're sitting here acting stupid, dumb as fuck. dumb as fuck.
Well, I think the president has done this and made very clear that if the Russians use nuclear weapons, that there would be catastrophic consequences.
For the entire world. Yeah, you would nuke all of us because you want fucking NATO to be in Ukraine. That's it. That's it. That's the, you people, this guy in this fucking red tie who probably has some bunker in some fucking state somewhere is not concerned about the fact that our entire world is about to get nuclearized because we can't keep our fucking fingers out of shit. We got to dip our little toes into every fucking country there is and keep our weapons by borders of countries that don't agree with us. I'm done. I'm over the American bullying and then us playing the victim card. Like, our entire country is completely narcissistic. It's just how it is.
To the use of that kind of weapon. And I think that's exactly what should happen. If Putin crosses that line and makes use of a nuclear weapon with all of the ramifications of what a nuclear weapon can do, I think the United States and our allies have to be willing to respond with force if necessary in order to make clear.
So it's a respond to a respond. Like, you do something first, the Russians respond, and then you feel like you need to respond. It's just going to be a tick for tat, and we're going to end up in a fucking nuclear war eventually. It's going to happen. I don't think Putin would do it first, but man, if you guys ever watched how World War I got started, you guys would understand how easy it is for them to start this shit.
That would force the United States, Ukraine, and our allies to confront Putin and the Russian invasion directly.
Ukraine just needs to fight them by themselves, and NATO needs to get themselves out. And I'm pretty sure that if NATO pulled themselves out, like you say, your allies, yeah, NATO, if NATO pulled themselves out of Ukraine and out of all of that, I'm pretty sure that Russia and Ukraine wouldn't be fighting right now. I'm pretty sure it would just go back to the way that it was over a year ago, when nothing was going on. Let Ukraine go back to dealing with their Nazi problem. Yeah.
Blamed Ukraine for several attacks within Russian borders. The White House said today the U.S. respects Ukraine's military decisions, but that the U.S. has not encouraged or enabled those strikes on Russia. Obviously, there's speculation that Ukraine now has its own internally developed drones that enabled them to do this. That's the speculation. What do you think happened?
I think the Ukrainians are defending themselves. That's what I think has happened here. These are bases where Russian planes are taking off to deploy this barrage of missiles that are going into Ukraine and doing tremendous damage to human life, to their infrastructure, and to their entire country. Really,
it's a tit for tat war. I'm sorry that Russia has better weapons than Ukraine. Oh, fucking well. People on Russia's side are dying too. If you've seen any videos up on Twitter of those guys that were giving themselves up, the one guy had his hands up and then he went and laid down next to a row of other dudes. Ukraine's just shot the shit out of all of those guys that were laying down, giving up. So Ukraine's no fucking better. Ukraine is no better. They just don't want to talk about it.
And so,
sorry if I'm boring you guys. I just really get into this stuff. You guys are all quiet in the comment section, and now I feel like I'm sorry. Am I too much this morning?
I think the Ukrainians have every right to defend themselves in this situation.
Sure.
It's up to them. But if I were in a situation where they are taking direct hits from the Russians every day, I think the Ukrainians have a responsibility to respond. So I understand their need to be able to defend themselves.
I think it's significant, right? You're not just saying a right to respond, but a responsibility to respond.
Fuck you, Les Bones. You had me worried there for a minute because that's all you said at first is, wow, I'm so bored. I was like, oh, is this boring? I'm so sorry. When do I think the world would end? I don't think the world's going to end. I think that even if we all blow ourselves up in a nuclear war, that the Earth is still going to continue on without us, with or without life. So the world will probably end in, a couple 100 million years when our sun decides that it wants to end its time of being alive and turns into it blows up and turns into whatever else next comes. I don't think the Earth itself will ever end. I think that the people could probably do it to them. So you're good, Les Bones. I think that people would do that to themselves, but you can never tell with human consciousness, and human actions are very unpredictable. So it's very hard to kind of tell that. But yeah, that's my thought of it. I actually enjoy saying that. That was really cool. Thank you. Oh, you're good. I know you like foreign policy. I know you do, Brandy. I think that's the end of this, right?
To where those are coming from, which of course is deep in the heart of.
Yeah, that's the end of that one. So yeah, that's CNN's coverage of how see how angry and upset it makes me. Like that's what's going on. Like that's how the left is viewing this whole thing. That's what bothers me about it. And I always feel like I'm like a broken record when I talk about this with people and stuff. Is like, how can you guys just automatically see that or just go straight into the point of Ukraine needs to defend itself from Russia without looking at what's been going on and, history and stuff. No wonder history continually repeats itself, is because nobody actually looks into history to learn from it. We're all a bunch of reactionaries instead of actually becoming like our own, independent journalists in our own minds and actually go and research and look into what's really going on out there. So yeah, it's wild to me how that's their thought process. It's crazy. So what's next? Do I got? You got it on the big screen. Hey! Hello, big screen. You don't support Russia or Ukraine. You're just tired and want no one to be harmed anymore. But humans are indeed just self-destructive. Absolutely. I 100% agree with you. That's exactly my take on it as well. Yeah. I'm not on either one side. I see who's wrong and who's right on both sides. I see the history of it and the unnecessity. I think that's a word of this whole thing going on. I know that behind the scenes, just people trying to make money, just trying to start some shit so they can continually make money. And humans are always going to be self-destructive. So especially when it comes to, money. So yeah, definitely. I agree with you. Exactly, Brandy. This is why I can't. It's so hard for me to watch mainstream media because I'm usually watching this stuff by myself, like, right here in the living room or something. So I'm usually like screaming at the TV by myself. So, so I'm glad I get to do this here with you guys. So that way we can all scream at it together. So there was a coup. Now, I mean, I'm not still anything, but I'm still kind of learning of what's going on with this coup d'etat over there. But was really interesting about this whole over in Germany. So in Germany, police arrested like 20 something people because there was supposed to be like a plot to coup the government and take over and put in their own like private government type thing with some guy named Prince something or whether. But what was really interesting about this is I don't know, it's hard to kind of judge this situation of what's going on with in Germany and stuff, because they have like there's years and years of videos of like saying this right-wing extremist group is starting to become popular and that they're wanting to overthrow the government. But then like Apparently the government heard that it was supposed to happen within this week, so they went and arrested them. So that kind of reminds me of like pre-crime, like from the Minority Report movie. So it's like pre-crime. These guys actually haven't done anything. There's just like supposedly a threat. But from what it seemed like to me, it seemed like what they were going to do was like a coup and taking over the government. It seems like it probably was going to be like a repeat of like January 6th out here, but happening in Germany. So this is kind of like what would happen if maybe like the January 6th people actually got arrested before what happened out there in DC. So I just thought this was really interesting to kind of watch this. I don't want to put my judgment on these people that are being arrested because they were arrested without actually doing anything. This was a pre-crime arrest. So I don't want to judge yet on these people, but there's like some videos like year old. I have a video from like 2 years ago. You guys are gonna have to tell me if the DW documentary YouTube channel is decent enough, or like if they're left or right leaning. I have no idea, but they even did a documentary themselves like 2 years ago calling it the right-wing extremists plot to overthrow the German government. So this is the actual case that was going on yesterday. With the whole situation. Yeah, that's what they're saying. You hear it was related to QAnon. So if that's true, it's not very good. Yeah, and that's what I've been hearing as well. That they're like conspiracy theorists and stuff. DW is pretty left-leaning. Okay. I wasn't sure. Like as in left-leaning, progressive left-leaning, or left-leaning as in like democratic left-leaning? Because democratic left-leaning is more of that centrist kind of. But then like it'd be nice to have some kind of documentary YouTube channel that's more progressive, than left-leaning. So let's see what happened with it, and then we'll watch this, and then I'll show you guys the documentary from a couple of years ago from the same organization talking about this group.
Is the biggest anti-terrorism raid in Germany.
Okay, you used to watch them when you watched Democracy Now! See, I still watch Democracy Now!, but I don't watch like their in-depth stuff. I watch like their top headlines in the morning just to kind of get an idea of what's going on in the world, just really quick in case I need a couple extra articles to talk about, But that's it.
Many years. On Wednesday morning, some 3,000 police raided more than 100 properties in several German states and arrested 25 people, all of them suspected members or supporters of the so-called Reichsbürger movement. Their goal, a coup d'etat in Germany. They wanted to overthrow democracy. Germany's Interior Minister Nancy Faeser said the investigations provided a glimpse into the, quote, abyss of a terrorist threat.
So then they're kind of progressive independent, but they still have certain biases in certain things as well. Because I love Al Jazeera, but then like they get really biased when it comes to certain countries, or like Russia, or even RT News. Like I love to watch RT News, but like if it comes to something happening in Russia, I don't usually watch it because it's usually biased towards it. But like if, like the war in Ukraine and stuff, it's nice to get the opposite's opinion. So I understand that. Okay, that makes sense.
From the Reichsbürger milieu. Members of the militant Reichsbürger scene are united in their hatred of democracy, of our state, and of people who stand up for our community. This is why we're taking action against such endeavors with all the consequences of the rule of law. If they had succeeded, this man was to become the new head of state. Heinrich Reuss, a descendant.
So yeah, this guy right here, if they were going to take over and coup d'etat Germany, this was the guy that was supposed to be the new ruler, some aristocrat. He still calls himself Prince something or other. Apparently his family has a bloodline of royalty, and so he feels like he is still the leader of the country, which is kind of crazy.
Of an aristocratic family from Eastern Germany who still uses the symbolic title of Prince Heinrich XIII. The entrepreneur from Frankfurt is said to be the ringleader. She would have been installed as the new justice minister, Birgit Malsack-Winkemann, who was a member of the German parliament for the far-right Alternative for Germany party until last year.
Yeah, so she would have been under the guy that was the prince. She is actually part of parliament and stuff out there in Germany for quite a while. She was part of the far right movement. I think she was recently kicked out of office or had to end her office time for something or other. But she would have been his second in command if they would have couped the government, is what they're saying she would have been. Everyone else's public news networks are still better than the U.S. ones like PBS and NPR, right? Exactly. It's so bad, right? Like you can sit there and watch CNN, you get so angry like we just did for the last 15 minutes and just yell at fucking CNN. But then DW comes on, you're like, let's listen.
She has since resumed working as a judge at a Berlin court.
Oh, yeah, that's right. She's also a judge, too. I totally forgot about that. She's also a judge. Woo! Pretty crazy stuff. If they would have coup d'etat and stuff, they would have had like a judge there, too. Oh.
Efforts to remove her from her position because of her involvement with far-right extremists failed earlier this year. The Reichsbürger, a far-right extremist, deeply anti-democratic movement. Its members reject the German state and its democratic system and are prone to violence. German authorities estimate that the scene consists of some 20,000 people. Between 2015 and mid-2017 alone, more than 10,500 crimes are said to have been committed by so-called Reichsbürger.
And DW political correspondent Julia Saudelli is at the scene of one of those raids. Julia, tell us a little bit more about the searches and arrests where you are.
Yes, this is where the one member of the network who was a former member of parliament for the AfD far-right party and who is still a working judge.
Okay, so AfD is pretty terrible. Okay. Yeah, I just looked it up on Google right now. It says it's like a young, extreme right-wing political group, so...
Here in Berlin, this is where she was arrested and where her house was searched. And there's still police present. You can probably see here behind me, we see police officers going in and out of the house. But a lot of the possessions that were found in the house, colleagues here told me were taken out earlier, quite a lot of things and bags and boxes and taken away from here. But there is still some police activity going on. But the raids have been going on since the early hours of the morning.
This is only one of many raids today. What is known about the suspects and their motives?
So we've heard that there are 25 people who have been arrested, but there are still another 27 people who are suspected of being a part of this network. And we've heard also from the piece that the supposed ringleader of this network was this descendant of this noble family who is also an entrepreneur in Frankfurt. And the plan of this group was to basically overthrow the current democratic order in Germany. They had planned to storm the German parliament with weapons and put up arrests of politicians and that way disrupt the democratic order. They had already started setting up what looked like a shadow government that would then take power once they had carried out the coup. They were organizing shooting trainings for their members. They were trying to enlist new members, especially those belonging to the armed forces and to the police who have weapons and are trained to use them.
Yes. So from what I've been hearing is they were recruiting people, especially like their local like police officers and stuff, or police department people. Apparently they got like a really good jump of recruits during the pandemic because of how many police forces were out, making sure that the town was on lockdown and stuff like that, making sure that the people were wearing masks and stuff. So they were able to actually talk to these officers out on the streets because they were, patrolling during the pandemic and were able to recruit a bunch of people. So that was another thing that I heard about these guys. So they were able, it just seems like, those, what is the one that we have in America too? We have those, the Oath Keepers. So it just seems like another group like that, like the Oath Keepers, just like the January 6th type, would have probably happened there, maybe in a bigger way, because I don't know too much about like German politics. Seems like they have parliament and stuff, so they have seems like they have politics kind of like England, where they have the parliament and a prime minister and stuff. So
how real was the threat of a coup against the German government?
well, we hear that the network started forming at the latest in November of last year, and that investigations in the network started in spring of this year when authorities received a tip from the intelligence service of the state of Hessen here in Germany, and the group had already started planning all of this in practice, and the intentions of this group were quite significant. They really planned to put in place a coup, and the ringleader of this group had already, according to the prosecutors, reached out, for example, to representatives of Russia here in Germany, because the group saw Russia as the one country who could help them negotiate this new new government that they wanted to install in Germany. And also, given the size of this operation to dismantle this group, it seems like the threat was quite significant.
Julia Saudelli in Berlin. Thank you.
Oh, really? Kevork Almasayan, who is good on Syrian coverage, was interviewed by Richard Medhurst once. Richard got backlash because Kevork was a member of AFD. Did he ask him any questions about that? Because that would be really interesting, like asking him questions about his involvement in the AFD. That would be really interesting if you did that. So here's the DW documentary on these guys, the AFD and the Reich. It's called the Reichsbürgers. Reichsbürgers is the group name. So this is a documentary from 2 years ago from the DW, talking about this actual group and warning of it years ago. So a lot of them were saying right now that like they've known about this group for years and they've never done anything because they never took them seriously. And so here is proof from like 2 years ago that, they're not really they're not really caring about what these guys are doing. It doesn't really matter to the government. They're still like asking, well, what do they do? Stuff like that. So here's a little bit of a documentary about it.
It's a dream come true for these right-wing subversives. They can't wait to get started.
Right-wing enemies of the state have established contacts with units of German soldiers and police.
We have to look at the sum total of all the individual cases. Is there an actual network?
Ammunition from special police units has ended up with the right-wing extremists, but official investigations of the situation have stalled.
I believe the public now trusts the police less than it used to.
Welcome. I think we all trust police less than we used to. I think that's pretty much the entire world right now. So,
for a coup attempt against the German government have already been drafted. In these documents, the start date is called Day X.
The security authorities have to take this seriously to maintain the public's trust in our constitutional state.
But are they doing enough to crack down on right-wing extremists among soldiers and police and their plans to disrupt the government? This is the village of Bansko in the eastern state of Mecklenburg-Vorpommern. In the summer of 2017, special federal police units searched a number of homes here. In one house, officers found more than 50,000 rounds of ammunition and several weapons.
So they've already raided these guys' houses like a couple of years ago and found stuff there that could possibly be a harm. I mean, even though they're probably going to defend themselves and be like, I'm just doing it in case something bad happens. They've been knowing about this for years now and never did anything.
The home belonged to Marco G., a former member of an elite...
Not to say that these guys are actually going to do anything. Obviously, they said that they were going to do it in their manifesto. They were going to coup the government and take it over. But, they still got arrested by pre-crime. They didn't actually do anything yet.
State police unit. He was charged with a number of weapons violations and went on trial in late 2019. Marco G. told the court that he was simply preparing for a possible catastrophe. He and several associates had formed a group called Nordkreuz.
The investigation showed that the group had also stocked up on supplies of quicklime and body bags.
A state police report concluded that Marco G. represented a potential threat to the state.
A review of his chat traffic clearly reveals his right-wing extremist and xenophobic views. And the court determined that he had rejected the constitutional principles of the German state.
Marco G. was convicted and sentenced to 21 months probation. Several of his friends were in court to hear the decision. Among them was Jörg S., who had received an important email from him in 2016.
The message said that over the last 16 months, a network of right-wingers had been established across Europe and that nearly 2,000 potential members had been contacted.
But does this network actually exist? Can the German people still trust the police and the military, the Bundeswehr?
Wir fahren das öffentliche Leben vollständig herunter.
Menschenansammlungen sind tabu.
Bleiben Sie zu Hause.
Die Polizei soll die Regeln konsequent kontrollieren und bei Verstößen hart durchgreifen.
We've come to southern Germany to follow up on a lead. There's supposed to be an extremist right-wing group here that allegedly has ties to the elite Bundeswehr unit, the KSK. We're looking for a member of that group, a weapons dealer called Volker L. When we find him, he agrees to an interview, provided we don't show his face. Volker is a former soldier. He says he first met the conspirators in 2015, when a member of the KSK invited him to a meeting of like-minded individuals. The group is said to have included soldiers and police officers.
That was not the meeting in Albstadt.
Then where?
I'm not going to say.
At the barracks in Kalv?
You've got good sources.
The KSK barracks in Kalv is a high-security area. Volker identified the man who invited him to the meeting as Andre S., also known to some group members as Hannibal.
We were impressed that he could organize a meeting there.
Volker L. claims that at another meeting, someone suggested that on day X, the coup participants should take over the Kalv barracks and seize the weapons stored there. After our meeting with Volker L., someone else associated with the group gives us a hard drive filled with alarming photographs and plans. The data indicates that Volker L. had been organizing training exercises since 2014. This activity included preparations for sabotaging bridges. We also find an email from Andre S. to Volker L. asking him to design identification badges for certain group leaders. The badges featured a skull and crossbones and a logo that stood for Day X. The group's organizational efforts were clearly well advanced. By 2015, Andre S. and other KSK members had set up a Nordkreuz chat group, assigning various tasks to individual members and recruiting new supporters. The network spread across Germany. Members of the elite commando force appeared to have been actively preparing for the Day X operation. Are these isolated cases?
And see, the Day X operation was supposed to be what they got arrested for. They were supposed to be, the Day X was supposed to be one of the days this week that it was supposed to happen. So that's what they got arrested for, was this Day X thing that they're talking about in here. I haven't seen the rest of this, so I'm learning this right now with you guys.
Some say that the KSK military units have a fundamental problem with right-wing activity, and that this dates back to the founding of the organization in 1996, and one of its first commanders.
We started looking into that situation after General Reinhard Günzel was appointed KSK commander in 2000. Later, he was accused of making inappropriate public remarks and was removed from his post.
But critics claim that these problems have persisted and the government has failed to address them.
We need to take a long, hard look at the role of the KSK. It's simply not acceptable for them to claim that they can't be investigated because they're engaged in classified operations.
Allowing extremism to flourish.
Sometimes you can have too much secrecy, and that can cause problems.
Our research indicates that Andre...
No, this lady is a Putin puppet. We came to that conclusion about a month and a half ago. She's a Putin puppet. She's a spy for Russia. I swear she is. Good morning, Environmental Coffee House. Good to see you this morning. If there's anyone who did not work with Jill Stein, it was Putin. She could not be bought. Yeah, I don't think I could see Warren hanging out with Putin for sure. No, definitely not.
S. and Marco G. were actively planning a coup attempt. We tracked down a Day X mobilization plan, allegedly drafted in 2016, that includes maps showing where the conspirators were to gather when they got the go-ahead from their commanders. Here, at a military training ground in the state of Baden-Württemberg. The KSK has carried out legitimate exercises here. The Day X headquarters was said to be located in a small building like this one. The plan included code words.
You're a worker too, Coffee House? Same. I'm the same. I never, like, it's so rare. And I've been doing it a lot lately, but normally I rarely text. So good to see you, and thank you for stopping by.
And radio frequencies. Group members were to identify themselves by rolling up their left shirt sleeve. Personnel will assemble at South Alpha Gray. This area will serve as a transfer point for the Secret Operations Center. These instructions must be carried out to the letter. The site is believed to have been chosen by Volker L. Some of the buildings here are used as artillery practice targets. The operation also called for taking over a vehicle storage site. We couldn't find anything about that in our copy of the plan, but one expert speculates on what the conspirators might have had in mind.
Hier spielt Transportmittel eine große Rolle. Transportation would play a big role in these sorts of situations, especially in a Nordkreuz operation. They would have to move their own troops around, and they may also have planned to arrest potential opponents. And to do that, you need vehicles, including trucks.
Am besten sogar LKWs. One group member proposed that such enemies be rounded up on day X and transported in military trucks past any police roadblocks. The prisoners, said to include leftists, FDP politicians, and refugee aid workers, were then to be executed. Marco G. recruited that group member himself. This is Schwerin, capital of the state of Mecklenburg-Vorpommern. Preparations for a military parade are underway. We're going to meet Dirk Friedrich, a Bundeswehr veteran and Social Democrat member of the state parliament. He's been warning for years that Nordkreuz extremists have infiltrated local military reserve units.
I can't understand why the investigation is taking so long. It's been dragging on and on.
See?
And if you take a look at recent events, you'll realize that we have to get to the bottom of this right away. We need to clean house.
See, they were warning about this a couple of years ago, and now they're just now doing something about it. So they've known about this for years. They just haven't done anything because they thought that they were not that big of a threat.
One of Marco G's close contacts, a former East German soldier named Jörg S., is not facing charges at this time. In 2016, the two exchanged a series of emails that indicates that it was Jörg S. who set up the meeting point in Varin, located near a military training area. In fact, our research has allowed us to establish the outline of an entire network of such points. Jörg S. is also a sergeant in the Bundeswehr Reserve. Many of the other conspirators are also alleged to be reservists. Jörg served for some time at the Air Force Base at Rostock Lager. A Eurofighter squadron is stationed there.
I agree with you guys. I miss Jill Stein. I totally miss her. She was so great.
When the squadron commander left his job in 2019, he invited Jörg S. to his official farewell celebration, despite the fact that he was already known to federal authorities as a suspected right-wing extremist. We wanted to discuss this with the new squadron commander, but base officials referred us to the Defense Ministry. No one there would talk to us about the case. We also contacted the Military Counterintelligence Service, and they wouldn't talk to us either.
This is a high-security military base and home to some of the Bundeswehr's most sophisticated weapon systems. This situation has to be thoroughly investigated.
We identified a further associate of Marco G in the court, Armin P., who trains Eurofighter pilots at the Rostock Air Base. How have those suspected of supporting a right-wing anti-government movement managed to gain access to high-security military sites? Konstantin von Notz is a member of the Bundestag Oversight Panel that's responsible for Germany's intelligence agencies.
The possibility of a coup attempt, even during the pandemic, may seem unlikely, but we still have to take it seriously and react accordingly.
Our research indicates that many of the alleged isolated cases in the police and the military are connected. For example, Volker L., the weapons dealer, confirmed that the group led by Andre S. had contact with a Bundeswehr officer called Franco A. So he was at the safe house?
He was there, yes. On one occasion, he took me aside and asked how he could get his hands on a weapon in Germany.
Yeah, you're right. Environmental Coffee House. This does sound weird. But I like, yeah, eco. Okay. So, but the only kind of fascism that would ever be acceptable is eco-fascism in order to save the planet. That's what it will take. And that will never happen, right? Not ego. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. We were way too much of that. As I was reading it at first, I was like, ego-fascism. We don't need more of that. But eco, yeah. I mean, the Amazon could definitely use a type of eco-fascism for sure. Saving the fucking planet. This does sound really weird, though. I'm like waiting for it to be one-sided, and it's really weird how they just didn't take this. I mean, I guess, you know, like our government didn't take January 6th people seriously either. But, you know, the only person that really died in January 6th was that lady that was part of the protest that was shot by the police officer. You can't even really count the police officer who had the heart attack as, you know, one of the murders that happened at the January 6th. So it just doesn't, I don't know. It's weird to me how, like, okay, you could see the similarities with these guys and, like, you know, the QAnon, Trump supporter kind of people here in America. And I'm trying to like similarize the two of them to try to kind of figure out what's going on, because these guys didn't even do anything yet. Like, they were arrested for not even doing anything yet. I could see where the threat was. Exactly. Eco extremist tree huggers. That's right. That's what I am. Go hug a tree today, you guys. Don't forget to hug a tree every day. I hug my big tree in my backyard all the time. I love hugging trees. Did you know? Oh, no, I don't even want to bring it up. I guess the plants actually feel pain. So just so you guys know, just so you know, plants feel pain. All right, let's watch the rest of this weird shit.
The man at the safe house was Franco A.
It's just so weird how they get arrested for pre-crime. You know, it's pre-crime stuff. That's what really triggered me with the whole thing is like, this seems like pre-crime, like some kind of Minority Report stuff.
In its decision on his case, the German Supreme Court cited a number of extremist statements that he'd made. People do not accept the greatest truth if it is not connected with a triggering event. You should destroy the entire system.
I believe that from the very beginning, these people believed, at least to a certain extent, that Day X could actually take place, and they tried to find ways to make it happen.
In early 2017, Franco A. was in Vienna. At the airport, he hid a weapon in a public toilet, and then posted the location to his WhatsApp group. The group also included other soldiers.
Yes, I did. I did make that. Yes, I made that. It was something that I don't even know why I made it. It was just Make America Great Again was in my head, and I think it was around like the Amazon forest deforesting time or something like that. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to steal these Republican saying and I'm going to turn it into an environmental one. So yeah, the Make America Green Again is definitely my design. So yeah. Oh, you like that one? Yay, thank you. Yes, I can make any I love making environmental and like just social justice type graphics and stuff. So it's some of my favorite things to make is environmental and social justice things. So yeah, I did that. Thank you.
He was arrested when he tried to retrieve the gun. That evening, an annual ball sponsored by Austria's right-wing Freedom Party was to be held. The event often draws lots of demonstrators. Investigators believe that Franco intended to carry out an attack there. He believed that since he was registered as a refugee, many would blame the crime on the immigrant community.
Franco A. was believed to have been preparing an attack that would then be attributed to Islamists or leftists or whomever. And the Nordkreuz group was considering similar measures. They figured that a provocation might be the best way to get things moving.
Cases like this have prompted speculation about what Marco G actually intended to do with the stockpile of weapons and ammunition that he kept at his house, and where he got all that ammo. Marco didn't respond to our requests for an interview, so we go to visit him in Bansko. A woman who answers the door refuses to talk to us. The Schwerin prosecutor's office has determined that much of the ammunition came from Bundeswehr and police warehouses. It's actually quite easy to determine the origins of this kind of ammo if you know what to look for. We talked to someone who does.
These were military-grade rounds. They have a very high penetration capability and are quite effective against a wide variety of targets. This has nothing to do with self-defense.
Really deep into the munitions.
These rounds can
stuff.
penetrate body armor, so we can assume that they might be used against police officers and security forces.
To find out where the ammunition came from, you have to look for the specific lot number on the package.
Even with containers of 500 or 1,000 rounds, you'll find individual packages like these. And the lot number is always stamped on the bottom of each round. These cartridges are shipped to the appropriate department, which then hands them out to individual officers. And the departments keep a record, so you can quickly determine when the ammunition came in and when it went out.
Prosecutors are still trying to figure out how the police could lose track of so much ammo.
Of course, we contacted the relevant authorities and asked for specific information. The investigation is still underway.
We try to figure out for ourselves where the ammunition came from.
Now they're getting all into the ammunition and stuff, like weird.
But it's still not clear who was actually responsible for handing over the rounds to unauthorized individuals.
Okay, so people got ammunition
have been able to prove just the opposite. Bavaria's state premier, Markus Söder, apparently has little interest in pursuing.
Yeah, this is just getting into the weeds of it. I'm not seeing like anything really, you know. I even like you can see in my thing, like I even looked up this dude and like who he is. German police arrest this guy. Are they gonna say anything? Of course not. So like that's the guy that was supposed to be the leader of this group. They're not gonna say anything. Of course you're not gonna say anything because you so lots of it in their own language. More arrests happen. Oh, DW
in Germany,
again.
dozens of people remain in custody after raids across the country on Wednesday. The targets were suspected supporters of a far-right movement that rejects the legitimacy of the German state. The federal prosecutor said those detained fantasized about forming a new German army and installing a minor aristocrat as leader of the country.
It is the biggest anti-terrorism raid in Germany for many years. On Wednesday morning, some 3,000 police raided more than 100 properties in several German states and arrested 25 people, all of them suspected members or supporters of the so-called Reichsbürger movement. Their goal, a coup d'etat in Germany. They wanted to overthrow democracy.
The arrested suspects are united by their rejection of state institutions in Germany. The arrested suspects believe in conspiracy myths consisting of different narratives from the Reichsbürger ideology as well as the QAnon ideology.
The network was made up of both a political and a military group, according to German authorities. They had planned to invade the German Bundestag and use violence. Germany's Interior Minister, Nancy Faeser, said the investigations provided a glimpse into the, quote, abyss of a terrorist threat from the Reichsbürger milieu. Who wouldn't agree on a day like today, where there's one of the biggest raids against far-right's efforts aimed at attacking our state, that polarization is on the rise and we have to defend our democracy every single day.
See, she just sounds like a repeat of Nancy Pelosi, but in Germany.
If they had succeeded, this man was to become the new head of state, Heinrich Reuss, a descendant of an aristocratic family from Eastern Germany who still uses the symbolic title of Prince Heinrich XIII. The entrepreneur from Frankfurt is said to be the ringleader. She would have been installed as the new justice minister, Birgit Maysak-Winkemann, who was a member of the German parliament for the far-right Alternative for Germany party until last year. She has since resumed working as a judge at a Berlin court. Efforts to remove her from her position because of her involvement with far-right extremists failed earlier this year. But the court confirmed that she was released from her duties on Wednesday. The Reichsbürger, a far-right extremist, deeply anti-democratic movement. Its members reject the German state and its democratic system and are prone to violence. German authorities estimate that the scene consists of some 20,000 people. Between 2015 and mid-2017 alone, more than 10,500 crimes are said to have been committed by so-called Reichsbürger.
More on this. Joining us now from London is Julia Ebner. She's with the Institute for Strategic Dialogue and author of the book Going Dark, The Secret Social Lives of Extremists. Julia, has the Reichsbürger movement been underestimated?
Well, to some extent, yes. I would say that the authorities in Germany have increasingly focused also on the Reichsbürger movement, and they created actually a new category for classifying anti-government extremism, or they call it democracy delegitimizing extremism, last year in 2021. So there has been a rising awareness because the movement has grown and has expanded massively over the last few years. The origins of the Reichsbürger movement are already in the 1980s, but really in the last few years they have really gained ground and have also become more dangerous and radicalized towards violence.
Okay, you say they've become more dangerous. How dangerous are they?
They are, well, the problem is that we have in Germany, we have around 20,000 Reichsbürger, and 5% of these are estimated to be prone to violence, according to the police and to the security services. So that means we have at least 2,500 people who might be prone. And of course, in this plot, we saw that there is a very strong overlap also with the QAnon, the conspiracy myth community of QAnon, where we have also seen a high willingness to resort to violence, not just in Germany, but also abroad. In the US, of course, we had the ties to the January 6th storming Capitol riots. And in Germany, this is not completely new, because even a few months before the Capitol riots, there was an attempted storming of the German parliament, and there was a high involvement of Reichsbürger and of QAnon adherents there. So this doesn't really come as a surprise, but it's still shocking to see the large scale of this operation and of this plot.
Now, the people involved are said to be conspiracy theorists who reject the modern German state. Is there an upward trend of these sentiments in Germany in general, you think?
I'm afraid so, yes, because there is a very, unfortunately, has been now really a rising anti-establishment resentment within the German population. That is, of course, mirrored in other parts of the world, but there is a higher recruitment potential for movements like the Reichsbürger and also QAnon, where we've really seen these movements expand a lot in Germany. And Germany was particularly prone to these conspiracy myths that are, of course, combining old conspiracy myths of the Reichsbürger movement and wanting to re-establish the pre-World War II borders and not believing in the legitimacy of the current state and current democracy, and combining those older elements roots of the Reichsbürger movement with new QAnon conspiracy myths that then take this onto a global level, where they would blame the so-called global elites and would also often add anti-Semitic elements to these narratives.
Now, you have researched radicalization on both ends of the spectrum, if you will. So what are the main reasons for people to become really radicalized?
It's of course usually quite complex, and there's not one single profile for people who become radicalized towards violence. What we've seen, and what I also saw in my undercover investigations within different extremist groups, is that very often individuals would face some kind of identity crisis, and that can be caused and triggered by bigger crises, like now with the pandemic, and with the of course the war, the Russian war in Ukraine, and the economic and energy crisis in Germany, and globally. There has been a really higher proneness in the population to becoming radicalized. So it often, of course, these movements often offer some kind of antidote to loneliness, but also to uncertainty, to a sense of a lack of perspective that many people were facing, especially with the socioeconomic and also mental health consequences of the pandemic and of these various crises that we've seen in the past few years.
Julia Ibner there.
She ain't lying about that, though. That part is right. People need to our government needs to start paying attention to the mental health of people, especially after the pandemic. Like she even said it herself, the loneliness of people. Like that's the kind of stuff that radicalizes people, is the not only, their own problems that they're dealing with their own lives, but the isolation part as well. Like that can really, really, really change people's perspective on life. And I do appreciate her even saying that we need to pay attention to the mental health of people, because that's absolutely right. While she was talking, I was thinking of that as well. Like, well, we just got through a pandemic and lockdowns and stuff, so people are going to be upset, and then our system and our government and our economics has not gotten any better. Nobody's getting better pay. Nobody's getting better jobs. Nobody's getting a better life after this. It's still just as bad. It's kind of like we were like here at the middle point where we were just barely like trying to survive from the 2008 crash. And then the pandemic comes, we go back down, and now we're just living in a lower base level. Like we were up, like in midway base level. Now we're down here. And that's just the way that life is. And it just keeps taking a step down, taking a step down, taking a step down more and more and more until, like, people are not going to have anything left to, worry about fighting for. Like they have nothing left. They literally are just going to go out there and do that. That's what happens. The government keeps trying to punish people and punish people and punish people and never actually help them. Then people are going to start getting pissed off to the point where we're going to fight back. It's just like we were talking about with Putin this morning. The government's treating, Russia the same way that they treat their own people. They just keep pushing that button, keep pushing that button. That person's going to end up in a corner where his fight or flight is going to come in, and either he's going to have a mental breakdown, which most people are having fucking mental breakdowns, or they're going to fight back, which now we see, like the QAnon and the January 6th, and now we see what's happening in Germany. Like you're seeing people's fight or flight kicking in. A lot, half the population is fighting back, and half the population is literally going through mental problems. You guys can't see this. Like I said earlier, I'm a regular citizen and I can see this. You guys are running countries and you guys can't see this. Come on now. There's solutions here, but you keep punishing people. So strategic dialogue, right? Is that a nice way of saying bullshizzle? Yeah, possibly.
On radicalization and extremism. Thank you
very much. Good morning, Ed. Good to see you. Right, exactly. Why can't there be a left fight? No, that's what I always wonder too. Like, where are the, I guess what it is though is if you think about it, there is left fighting, but we're doing it in a good way. Like I was talking about Cape Socialist and Lula yesterday down in South Africa doing direct aid, feeding people. The word is starting to get out there. Or like Unholy Rome, what he's doing with his tour for the poor. I think that's our type of fighting back, is doing good things instead of, because you don't see a lot of left leaners going out and like loading up a buttload of guns and military gear and going out and doing military stuff. Like a lot of us left leaners, don't really like the military, or don't really, care for owning more than just, the necessity amount of guns, like one or two or something, so we don't have that same mentality a lot as the right leaners do. So I do see us doing actions, but just not in the violent way of the way that the right wing does. I see more of our fighting back of like, well, then fuck you. I'm just going to go help the people out. If you're not going to do it, I'm just going to, you know, sit here and try to do it myself kind of thing. I think that's where our fight might be. Oh, thank you. That's Izzy. She's it's about that time. It's like almost noon here. So both, you know, usually the last hour is where my cats start going wild. So you got to see Miss Izzy. That's Mama Kitty. I got 2 more running around. I don't know where Burton is. He's running around here somewhere. And then this little white thing right here on my couch, right there. That's Dodger. I'm just a zoo. Usually about the last hour of my show, my zoo likes to kick in. So
Thank you.
Political correspondent Thomas Sparrow is with me now. Now, the prosecutor said they expect more arrests to follow. What can you tell us?
Absolutely. This is not the end of this ring, of this group. And according to what
but
authorities have
you're
released
right,
so far,
though, in
they seem
Environmental Coffee House. Like, I wish we could fight better. I wish that, you know, like, I do appreciate and I love the direct action that a lot of the lefties are out there doing. I just wish that there was a way that we can fight more, fight harder, and organize more without, you know, the whole like let's coup d'etat the government, or, you know, let's storm the Capitol. I mean, even though I saw storming the Capitol, at least at the time, I saw it as kind of, wasn't it our like constitutional right that if the government isn't doing what they're supposed to be doing for the country, that we as citizens have the right to fight back. So, you know, minus like, you know, the fear mongering that went into the January 6th insurrection, and, you know, what the politicians are saying and like how they feared for their life and stuff. I saw it as something that was our constitutional right. Like, they put it in the Constitution that we're supposed to be allowed to do this kind of stuff. And the government hasn't been doing anything for us for a really long time. But then we sit here and, like, us super lefties or us progressives, we sit here and sit back and let the Democrats take over the dialogue of they're scary people and the insurrectionists should go to jail. And this is, you know, blah, blah, blah. I feared for my life and they're dangerous criminals and stuff. And like, what are we doing over here as extreme lefts? Because I know I'm not the only person on the, you know, super left that didn't, you know, I'm not the only person in the super left that saw January 6th in a bigger picture of as our constitutional right, you know, of us being able to do something like that, not coup d'etating an entire government or holding, you know, government officials captive or anything like that, but being mad and fighting back against the government in a way that, you know, like the organization has figured, you know, is the most plausible way to get their voices heard. I just see that as our governmental right, our constitutional right to be able to do that. So yeah, Extinction Rebellion is out there doing a really good job. I mean, they caught my eye for sure. So we need a Hulk. There we go. You gonna be Hulk, Ed? January 6th did suck. Absolutely. It sucked big time. But how are we supposed to fight back against a government that's never going to listen to us anyway? You know, we say, you know, abortions has like 65% approval rating across the entire board in America, but we just overturned it and let our Supreme Court justice overturn it. And we didn't even codify it into law, which we had years to do. So, I mean, that's just one example of like, okay, so our government isn't even doing the simplest things to help us out. What do we do to fight back? What do we do? How do we get our voices heard? You know, protests and stuff. Like I've been saying this a lot, and I will continuously say it. You know, DAPL, North Dakota Access Pipeline, didn't get stopped, and there was up to 3 million people at that protest, you know, at the Sioux Nation tribes and stuff. That's a lot of fucking people that, you know, that actually got onto the news, but nothing ever changed, nothing ever happened because of it. It still continued to do whatever they wanted to do, the pipeline companies. So how do we fight back? What's the way? You know, what do we do? How do we get organized enough to be able to make a dent in our Congress? So yeah, exactly. They're all co-opted. Yeah. And we're trying to replace the media, but you know, I looked over at freaking, what was it? I think it was like CNN last night, and they have 14 million subscribers. They have more subscribers than some of the biggest YouTubers out there. So how are we supposed to fight back on that? Like, anytime I look into the search engine of the YouTube, it automatically, like, the first fucking 10 pages of YouTube gives me mainstream media stuff. How am I supposed to fight that? You know, how everything is co-opted and working against us. So how do we co-opt it back and make it work for us? It just doesn't. It seemed like even though January 6th was crap and it sucked and it wasn't, you know, it was just, you know, dangerous and nothing really happened out of it. But it seemed like that was the only thing that really, at least, you know, made people think at least a little bit of like, okay, well, then what do we do? What can we do? You know, obviously our Constitution tells us we're allowed to fight back, but now we can't because half of them are going to go to jail. So, of course, there was a lot of stupid people there, like the dude with the fucking wolf head thing. Like, I understand there was definitely a lot of dumb stuff there too, but Jesus Christ, something's got to give. Something's got to give. It's hard to wake up the masses when they're all fed a steady diet of BS on the daily, right? Exactly. And I agree. January 6th had some brainwashed QAnons. And I agree that we are classier than that. But there's got to be something to where we can scare our politicians into doing what we want them to do because they're our, you know, they serve us. We are their constituents, but they don't do anything for us. They just go off and do what their funders tell them to do while we end up getting shit on every fucking day. And I'm sorry, but as a millennial, 37 years of dealing with this, I'm done. I'm fucking over it. Like, I'm seriously over it. And now I've got my kids to worry about who are going to have the next 30 years of probably even worse situations. Like, that's the thing. It's like, older people don't understand that, like, you guys, you know, those people, they had it a little bit good, you know, to where they can like say, oh, well, I miss the good old days. Like, I never had a good old days. As soon as I became an adult, the fucking 2008 crash happened. And then I've been dealing with everything ever since then. You know, while I was in high school, 9/11 happened. And then all of that, you know, the security and watching people and stuff. My entire life pretty much has not been anything but a shithole in this country, and this country hasn't done shit for me. So I don't understand how I'm supposed to just sit back and take it and just wait for somebody to come up with a non-violent or a, you know, or a classy way of doing it, because nobody has, and nobody's listening to anyone who does have any good, you know, things. It seems like January 6th was like the only thing that made people start thinking. I don't know. Like, I'm not for January 6th. Don't even like, I'm not a QAnon person. I'm not for January 6th, but fuck, something's got to give. Something fucking has to give. I'm done with it. You know, I understand it's my own personal anecdotal evidence, but fuck, I know I'm not the only person that's a millennial or even younger that's thinking this. You know, something's got to give. So you won't be the Hulk. You'll help aim. Lava. Exactly. Let volcano party. Thank you. Something's got to give. Most people on the right support pipelines. Yeah. There is a small, minute amount of people that don't, but yeah, they think that capitalism and, you know, turning our country into a business is the right thing to do. So I don't agree with all of them. I just think that the action that they thought that they were going to do, not what they ended up doing on January 6th, the thought of what they were doing was at least kind of in the right direction of our constitutional rights. So yeah. Black Panthers had it going on. Angela Davis is still out there trying to spread her message. Okay. That's because the movement should be to get money out of politics. That's the only way it's going to work. Move to amend. I may be older, but I never saw any good. You didn't see any good old days? Aw. I don't think anyone has ever seen good old days except their imaginations. Well, I talked to Sherry once every 2 weeks on here, and she's a boomer, and she says that like the 50s and stuff and like the beginning of the 60s was really, really good. The taxes were going to the top, you know, 1% or the corporations. One person can have a job and be able to take care of their entire household. Like, that's what I picture is like, you know, at least the economics of things. She says that it's like, you know, she misses those good old days and wishes that us younger generations can experience what they were able to experience. Okay, thank you. I'm just trying to like see it from different perspectives and like look at it from a bigger picture. Like, I don't approve of what happened on January 6th or anything. I just liked the idea of people defending their rights and wanting to fight against the government who is just austerity on all of us. And it just seemed like the idea of January 6th was, the way to do it. But how it ended up happening and what's happening to the people now, it's not really that great. But then you got people here in Germany that probably, are probably a little bit worse than what happened here in America. And they're getting like pre-crime arrested. So it's crazy. It's absolutely wild to me. The 50s oppressed. True. Very true. I totally blanked out on the oppression of women too. So yeah, I didn't even think about that. You're right. You are very right. I guess the only reason why one person in the household could have a job and take care of the rest of the family was because of the oppression of women. Didn't really have a choice. So yeah, you're right. You're right. Thank you for that. You're very right. Your mom tells me the economy was good in the 60s too. Okay. Yeah. You wish the dollar was stronger like back then. I know I watched something the other day. It was like oh, no. When I was watching the movie The Craft, in there, the stepdad had passed away from a heart attack. And he had like a life insurance, and the mom and the girl was supposed to get the life insurance money in the movie. And they were like, it's $125,000 or $156,000. And they're like, that's so much money. And they're freaking out and stuff. And I'm like, wow, the 90s, man. If somebody nowadays got $159,000, yeah, they would be excited. But what that would pay for like a trailer here in California. So it's not really that much money anymore, especially like, winning a big amount of money to help, take care of the rest of your life. Like $156,000 isn't going to cut it anymore. So yeah, the dollar used to be way stronger back then. The 50s and 60s economies are what led to environmental climate chaos. So there's that. That's very true too. No climate regulations back then. Definitely. Pensions used to be a regular thing, and then the capitalist jerkbags come up with the 401ks, made it harder for people to retire. Yep. And in the 70s and 80s, a lot of homes became two-earner households with latchkey kids. That's the Gen Xers. Yep. The latchkey kids. Remember to lock that door when you come home and don't answer to nobody. Cost of living went up, but wages stay the same. Yep, that's the big problem is right there, is when cost of living went up, but the wages never went up with it. And that's when the corporate greed of capitalism started to kick in. So definitely, even the economy in the 80s was better. You could buy so much groceries with $20. I know, it was wild back in the day, how great it was. Reagan, then Clinton cemented the situation we're in now. Yeah, absolutely. Abso-fucking-lutely did. And then, Bush and Obama and Trump never helped it. Man, my life has just been full of shitty politicians. So you haven't had a salary increase in like 3 years, and you work for the government too, bro. Like, that's not cool. Tisk, tisk. I've never had a salary increase in any job that I ever had.
To have been at least.
Okay, I want to finish watching this and then we'll get on to the next news story. So don't go anywhere. I'm going to run to the bathroom really quick. Give me 2 seconds and then I'll be right back. And then we'll get on to the next subject. Not even a percentage. Jesus Christ. That's ridiculous. Okay. Oh, Nikki. Thank you. What up, Punisher? Good to see you. Is Nikki on early? Were you on early this morning? Very nice. I think I saw you getting on like around the same time I was. I was hoping to get off early enough to raid you back, but nope, you got me today first. You're so sweet. Thank you, Punisher. Thank you, Nikki. Thank you, Rivet Head. Yay. I get my raid today. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. I know, right? Now that you're like 3 hours ahead of me, you can raid me. That's awesome. That's so cool. Thank you. We are watching the little last bit of the German government almost being coup d'etat, them doing a pre-crime arrest, kind of like the Minority Report over in Germany against these guys. We're going to watch a little bit more, and then we're going to get on to the next subject. So thank you for stopping by. That's so cool. This city lost a lot of money during the pandemic, so they haven't given us the annual cost of living increase. That's true. That's so true.
relatively organized. It was not something that they had just planned in the last few weeks. It was a group that was apparently formed at the latest in November 2021. It had already a political arm with a cabinet basically formed. It had a military wing as well, which was, or the goal of which was to not only
Oh, really? The coup people wanted Kaiser back? That's pretty random, especially for like far right wingers. So.
Especially among the German military, but also to conduct military training with weapons. And we already saw in that report what kind of people belonged to this group. So it's certainly a very important development yesterday by the German government, by German authorities in particular. But as you correctly point out, from what we've heard so far, this doesn't seem to be the end. More arrests are expected and the investigations are set to continue.
Now, a plot to overthrow the German government. How close were we really to a coup here?
Well, that's something that we don't know exactly, but authorities have pointed to the fact that they were organized and in an advanced stage. And what I mentioned about the structures in place that this group already had point to that advanced stage. And the fact that they were also linked to this organization, the Reichsbürger movement, which is really profoundly anti-democratic, which rejects the existence of the German state as we know it so far.
I don't know all the facts, but read some stuff online saying it was a monarchist. Interesting. Yeah, they were saying that we were watching it a little bit earlier. They were saying that some leader guy who still considers himself like a prince, I guess he's a entrepreneur or something. I guess his family was part of German royalty way back in the day. Saying that he was gonna I know, right, Ed, his I love his accent. Ugh, it's so hot. It's saying that that this guy was gonna, this one guy like Prince Heinrich or something was gonna be the leader of all of this.
That they had really concrete goals. Now, how possible those goals were, that's another question altogether. How realistic those goals were, achieving those goals is another matter altogether. But they were at least planning it, and those plans were certainly, according to authorities, in an advanced stage.
And they included terror attacks, probably. Isn't that the real threat?
That is certainly part of the real threat, but it goes beyond that. It goes really targeting Germany's democratic institutions, trying to storm the German parliament, trying to replace the German state as we know it. So it goes beyond just terror attacks. It really affects the German state as we know it. And the Reichsbürger scene, which has been linked to this group, is actually known to be prone to violence. They have an affinity to weapons, according to authorities. And only last year, there were over 1,000 crimes linked to that scene. So that's also a reason why authorities went in those ways with over 3,000 officers and why they believe there was certainly a potential of violence there.
You mentioned this Reichsbürger movement, conspiracy theorists really, who reject the modern German state. How prevalent are these thoughts in German society?
Well, if you just speak about the Reichsbürger, I wouldn't say they're very prevalent.
That's a good
about 21,000 people that are directly or indirectly linked to this. The bigger question is to what extent far-right extremist views are prevalent in Germany, and not only in Germany, but within German democratic institutions, within politicians, within the judicature, within the German military. That is the big challenge for German authorities, and that's the reason why German authorities have said on various occasions that the threat from the far-right, from the extremist far-right in Germany, is the biggest threat to German democracy now.
DW's political correspondent Thomas Sparrow. Thank you very much, Tom.
Dang, that's pretty interesting. Yeah, like I said, I seriously think it's some type of pre-crime. It's got to be like some some type of a Minority Report shit. It's got to be the pre-crime thing. That's crazy to me. They didn't. I understand they might have like, you know, those like a memorandum or some type of thing to say that they were going to do that, but you know how the governments are. They had years, like we were just watching, they had years to know about what's going on with this group, and they didn't do anything until, you know, it seemed like it was worse than it was. So here we go. So, okay, I don't watch Jimmy Dore too often. Not like, you know, one of those like super friends or anything, but in San Francisco, they approved armed robots. I think they were going to start them with guns, and then they changed it to bombs as like lethal weapons as the last resort. So I thought this was pretty interesting how Jimmy Dore kind of covered it a lot better than what the mainstream media covered it for. So I want to cover the Jimmy Dore version of this. It definitely has some really good funny things in there too. So, oh, they didn't? Okay. All right, let's watch this. Let me go run to the bathroom. Oh, they walked it back? Okay.
They just approved robots to have guns. They can't.
Of course they did.
They're not approving people to have housing, but they are approving robots to have guns. They're not approving people to have health care. Although I think San Francisco actually does give people health care.
If you're non-binary and a person of color, you have to be at least biracial.
San Francisco's Board of Supervisors approved a controversial draft policy that would allow police robots armed with explosives to use lethal force against suspects as a last resort option. Oh, it's a last resort. Well, if it's a last resort.
Wait, isn't it a last resort now? And it's a problem?
And it's a big problem. They're shooting people at Wendy's for fucking eating fries. Are you kidding me?
Oh, you got to get out of here, Environmental Coffee House. Okay, thank you. Yeah, thank you for chatting. Absolutely. Definitely. Maybe one day I can bring you on too. That'd be really fun to bring you on and hang out. So, Jimbo. That's my name. I know. Jackson's on here too. I know. We just, you know what? We'll just sit here and make fun of how Jimmy Dore practically just kind of throws him on for a quick little thing and then ignores him. So we'll just sit here and make fun of how Jimmy treats Jackson.
The board approved an amendment from the supervisor, Aaron Peskin, that requires officers to at least evaluate the use of alternative force options or de-escalation tactics before deploy. You know how cops love to de-escalate.
So we're in the it's like RoboCop, except it's going to be in San Francisco and not Detroit.
Yes.
Oh my gosh. Yes, T-Bird. I didn't even think about that. Can you imagine if hackers got into it? Could you just imagine what would happen? Like the police officers are sending these robots out, and these robots just like stop in place while they're going forward. They just stop and they turn around and face towards the police officers, and like their little eye parts like just turn red. Oh, this would be great. Okay, Bacon sent me a tweet. Okay. Hope he doesn't justify police robots to get rid of the homeless. You know he will. I mean, I don't know. I don't think he says it in here, but you know he's thinking it. Jackson definitely would do that for sure. So, yeah, he does good conflict, the Ukraine coverage, definitely. He does a little bit of boot licking for Putin, but whatever. He's the only opposite news we're getting when it comes to what's going on over there, unless you watch like RT or, Richard Medhurst or other things like that. So don't cry. It's just a joke.
The liberal
That's what happens when you smoke weed in the morning. You just think everything's funny, even though it's sad.
Bastion. And it also limits the decision to deploy robots.
Imagine the RoboCops making houses for the homeless while ignoring the orders they get. Oh, that would be awesome. Can we get a hold of Anonymous and see if they could do something like that? Like, I would seriously be a fan of Anonymous again if they did that. I would totally be back into Anonymous's, lap if they did that. Yeah, like Independent News has done some good work on coverage. Yeah.
Certain high-ranking police officials. The guy who's the head of the sheriff department here in Los Angeles is 100% fucking criminal.
Okay.
They run a gang in the sheriff's department. They're a gang. They have tattoos. They're fucking like Nazi gangs. That's the sheriff department in Los Angeles. So if they're high-ranking, that means they're a bigger fucking criminal, you assholes.
Oh, thank you.
You don't think fucking
Ed, I
cops
just got the link from you. Thank you very much. Yeah, I'll read that right after this for sure. Thank you.
Criminals?
Okay, what about the kind of things that you need a flesh and blood cop to determine? Like a robot gets to the scene. Paul Pelosi and a man are struggling with a lubed hammer. What does the robot do? What do you do, hotshot?
Yeah,
a separate amendment authored
by used to be way cool. Like back in the day, they used to be really cool until they all started like splitting off into their own little separate factions and stuff. When they were all together doing some really good work, that's when I loved them. But yeah, you're right.
By Supervisor Hillary Ronen, which would have required police to physically attempt alternative force options or de-escalation tactics before deploying a robot, narrowly failed.
Oh,
you're fucking kidding me.
Did a robot also vote in the...
So how much money are they getting from the robot company?
From Big Robot.
How much are they getting? So that's big tech.
Yeah.
That's Silicon Valley. That's why it's happening in San Francisco. Yeah. That's why it's happening in San Francisco. Because Silicon Valley has all those politicians in their back fucking pocket.
Yeah.
That's why it's happening there. Ah, dummy. A similar policy proposal was defeated in Oakland, where police sought to outfit certain robots with live shotgun rounds. Jeez. What could go wrong? What could go wrong?
I can't believe we're going to have this before self-driving cars. That's really amazing.
Yeah. We're going to have this before we have healthcare.
And also
or a living wage.
I can't wait for the new steampunk future ahead of us.
In a statement to SF Gate, the San Francisco Police Department clarified that it would not seek to arm any of its robots with firearms, but rather with explosives. Oh, that's much better.
Intermediate force option.
With explosives as an intermediate force option, that can prove to be lethal.
Yeah.
What's a maximum force option?
I'd like to know. Supervisors Hillary Ronan and Dean Preston were vehemently against the proposal. Ronan called it incredibly dangerous and accused the police department of fear-mongering and pushing for the proposal. I don't think we should invent scenarios where we can always invent to evoke fear in people. Those scenarios put forward by SF, San Francisco Police Department Assistant Chief David Lazar, included the 2017 Las Vegas shooting, as well as confronting a suicide bomber. Preston was unconvinced a robot equipped with a bomb would be appropriate for either of those situations. We're talking about a sniper in a fully occupied hotel, and a solution would be to put a bomb-bearing robot to blow up the hotel. Preston asked about the Vegas scenario. Of the suicide bomber, he asked, we're going to use a robot with a bomb to subdue a suicide bomber?
Hey, use fire to fight fire. That's the oldest homeopathic remedy in the book.
That's kind of ironic, right? Raphael Mandelman said that he believes the police department will have adequate safeguards in place. Yeah, I bet they will. And accused groups opposing the proposal, including the ACLU, of being anti-police.
And robophobic.
Catherine Stephanie said the criticism of the proposal is fear-mongering in its own right, and that police have had this technology available to them but never sought to use it. You've had this for 11 years. You've never used deadly force, Stefani told Lazar. The final language after Peskin's amendment reads this. Robots will only be used as a deadly force option when risk of loss of life to members of the public or officers is...
Right, so members of the public is when they're never going to use it, and then members of the officers is imminent, is when they will use it. They're not going to use these robots for good. They're going to use these robots to add more power to the military police force. That's gross.
Imminent. And officers cannot subdue the threat after using alternative force options or de-escalation tactic options, or conclude that they will not be able to subdue the threat after evaluating alternative force options or de-escalation tactics. Only the chief of police, assistant chief, or deputy chief of special operations may authorize the use of robot deadly force options. Boy, too bad the Uvalde cops didn't have these killer robots to send in the classroom.
There's a good point right there. You know, firefighters, you know, how give these robots like for, you know, to help for, you know, fighting fires and pulling people out of burning places and stuff. That's smart as shit. Why are we using these things for bombs to blow people up in a dangerous situation? Why aren't we using these to help people? I like that idea. That's a really, really good idea. Look at you. You're so smart, T-Bird. Thank you for stopping by today and joining the raid. They need to hack them and set them on the cops, right? That's what we were talking about earlier in the comment section right now. Just having that, those like cops telling them to like go that way, you know, to go towards the person, and the robots just kind of turn around and face towards the cops and their eyes turn red. No violence. I'm sorry. Yeah, cops want to play video games with perps. I know. Program them to be, oh, that would be so sweet. we got Brandy over here in the comment section of YouTube, just full on violence, which I'm loving her for. And then we got Twitch over here with like, you know, the reasonable, non-violent, you know, comments of how we can do this good. You guys are like totally opposite of what it should be. Like YouTube usually is full of like, you know, like we should do the good stuff, you know, and then Twitch is like, fuck that violence. But it's completely opposite today, and that's great. I'm digging it. Don't worry, Brandy, so am I. I've got my joint right here. You guys can't sit here and talk about getting stoned without me sitting here getting stoned. I hear weed and I'm like, what? Weed o'clock? Is it time? The only robots they should be using are the bomb deactivation. Yeah, those ones are really great. Absolutely. And I agree with Snow as well and T-Bird. Like I and all of you guys up in Twitter. I really like the non-violent, you know, good for the citizens and the public robots, you know, like guarding unused homes to let people live in there for free, even if it doesn't make the corporations any money, or, you know, helping out the fire department instead of the police department, of pulling people out of burning buildings, and, you know, helping the hose reach even further than what it could reach with, you know, the people on the ladders and stuff. So I actually really like that idea. Definitely a way to say fuck you to the capitalist violent system and turn something that is a violent thing against people to something that could benefit society and the regular people. You know, I definitely agree with that. So it would make all the people who are afraid of robots say shut up, you know. And even if robots wanted, like if we were always afraid of robots like harming us and stuff like that in the future when they become sentient creatures themselves, you know, if we were to make robots that actually help society and help better society, what kind of, you know, consciousness do you think that these robots would end up building themselves from doing good things and good deeds instead of building robots for machinery and violence and stuff? So, you know, if anything, we're kind of forcing these robots to think in a violent way because of this. You know, I know that this robot that's helping the police isn't a sentient creature and can't think for itself, but, you know, who's to say that the program that these robots are on doesn't have some type of memory system, you know, that's going to help remember what it did. And then, you know, eventually, you never know. There's always the possibility of robots becoming knowledged and awake, you know. And so when they do, are we always just going to be you know, or are they just always going to remember us using them for violence instead of for good, you know? And then that's all they're going to know. They're going to know that good is out there, but violence is their main objective. So, yeah, I think that's a really smart way of putting things. I think that would be a really smart way of unworrying and maybe getting robots into thinking completely different. So, yeah. For once, I woke up and didn't choose violence. I know what's going on with you today, Twitter. What's up with this? I have a splash of violence in my coffee cup every fucking day, all right? Everybody hates me for it, and I love it. Honorable politician is a concept that would break logic circuits, right? When is it not weed o'clock, right? Exactly. That's what I say. It's weed o'clock all day. We should do that. We should like remake that stupid ass country song where it's like where it says it's 5 o'clock somewhere, but we'll change it to it's weed o'clock everywhere. Fuck it. We'll turn it into a rock song or like a death metal. Yeah. That would be awesome. Does somebody say weed? That's my cue. What's up, Ghost Star? Good to see you. That's right. You are in the right spot, sir. Absolutely welcome. We need more hobo cops. The architects of our own demise. Absolutely. That's what I feel like robots, you know, when they do the fear mongering. I am a millennial, you know, I grew up with a lot of those robot movies, you know, like AI and, you know, Will Smith movie and stuff like that. So I see what could possibly happen, you know. So there's always in the back of your head, there's always going to be that fear of like robots becoming sentient and all they know is violence because that's all we are is violent. But you guys out there in Twitter world definitely made a really awesome, decent point of like, what if their objective is always just to help instead of for violence? And then when they do become sentient, when it does happen, if it does happen, then they'll know more of solutions of how to help people than say, oh, we need to get rid of humanity because they're just violent. Like, here, no, we know how to help you because of this. You know, you guys are doing this wrong. Here's a better way of doing it. Yeah. Absolutely. Let's get it. We need more. What's up with the hobo cops? I don't understand. You want Wally to clean your house, but see, that's still violent. What if you and Wally cleaned the house together? How about that? Like, you do the laundry, he does like the crappy stuff because, you know, he's a robot and he doesn't understand what being tired is like. So you hook the robot up with the crappy jobs that you don't want to do, like dishes. Well, I guess he couldn't really do dishes because it's water. See, now we're starting to get a little technical. A wild ghost art has appeared. Yes, the Twitch world. Twitch is its own world, don't you know? Twitch is definitely its own little world. It's its own. Twitch is its own monster. It for sure is. Okay, that's fine. All right. Well, yeah. He'll get the stuff that you can't reach. Exactly. Can't even get optical sensor faucets and self-checkout lanes to work well yet. Maybe we should hold up on robot policing for a minute. Absolutely. I agree. Yes. More bones. You're so crazy. I agree.
Full of kids to subdue the shooter while keeping the officers safe on the other side of the classroom.
Well, then the officers would have to subdue the robots and handcuff them to keep them from going inside.
That's right. That's right.
They need to
like they did to the
children
parents
from being saved.
Caitlin Johnstone says one of the most under-discussed topics in the world right now is how governments are incrementally normalizing the use of police robots that can kill you and acting like it's no big deal.
Well, I guess San Francisco, it's like such an awful, like, out of control.
I haven't been
city.
there for a while. Is it really that out of control?
If you remember when Dirty Harry came out in the 70s? Because he was a San Francisco cop.
Yeah, I remember.
Everybody was sick of how San Francisco was.
Yeah.
I don't know what the Dirty Harry movie is to popularize this.
I can't believe I have to say this, but I don't think letting police have killer robots is a great idea. San Francisco. Voted. This is that Dean Preston. San Franciscans voted 62-38 not to entrust police with tasers. Pretty sure most San Franciscans wouldn't want police to have killer robots.
Jimmy,
I was saying there was an interdimensional talking between the two. So just so you know, Les Bones, and there's talking to you from the other world. Sorry about that. I'm muted. You guys, this is what happens when I'm stoned. Now I'm fucking stoned, and I'm gonna show while I'm stoned. Y'all got me fucked up.
Those little robot food carriers that like deliver food in Los Angeles. Have you seen those?
Yes.
They get stuck all over the place. They break down. They malfunction. They tip. So we're gonna take those down. We're gonna strap explosives to them and think nothing's gonna go wrong.
Police robots authorized for use as deadly force might be misused or.
Did you see that, Les Bones? Did you see how he was talking and like Jimmy Dore just like completely cuts him off? Check that. You guys got to watch this. Like, he just doesn't even really listen to what he has to say. It's so funny.
Explosives to them and think nothing's going to go wrong.
Police robots authorized.
Tell me that's just not funny. He totally ignored him. He just went and then just moved on to the next one. Like, all right, bro, I'm done with you. Like, let's keep going. Can we let's watch that one more time because that shit's hilarious.
Jimmy, they have those little robot food carriers that like deliver food in Los Angeles. Have you seen those?
Yes.
They get stuck all over the place. They break down. They malfunction. They tip. So we're gonna take those down. We're gonna strap explosives to them and think nothing's gonna go wrong.
Police robots authorized.
You know he doesn't give a shit about Jackson. Like, thanks for that fine information, Captain Obvious. It isn't in his notes. Oh, fuck my
Guys
life.
for use as deadly force might be
I'm just here for the fucking pettiness right now.
misused or deployed too readily. This is not sensationalist. It's based on decades of police abuse and normalization of military tactics and technologies. Tweeted out EFF. And that stands for easy fuckface. ACLU tweeted this out. The ACLU of the Northern California says, for all those still in disbelief that the San Francisco Board of Supervisors gave the police permission to kill with robots, know that your gut was right here. It's a terrible idea. Remote triggers are easy to pull, and you can't take
You forgot the A at the end of God. He's like, shut the fuck up, Jackson. Don't say anything stupid this time, please. God. Because, you know, we're from California and we're Valley girls. That's how we sound. I know. He's definitely going to have Jackson stop coming on if he wants him to stop. Exactly. I don't know why you could tell he's so over Jackson. I don't know why he keeps bringing him on.
robots of court.
Wow, ACLU, that's a good point. I think it's as bad an idea as we're going to back Amber Heard policy of the ACLU.
Yeah. Oh, did they?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
They what?
Remember ACLU was coming out against free speech for a good while after the.
Oh, yeah, they
Tiki
got their
Torch.
heads up. They came out for the fucking vax mandates, even if though it goes against their fucking.
Yeah.
Give it 5 years, and the ACLU is going to be advocating for paid sick leave for the robo
Yeah.
killer
Yeah.
cop things.
They say police already shoot black and brown
They just
people.
like put him on and then stick him back off really quick. Like they don't even let him continue if he has anything else to say. Oh, maybe I'm just seeing shit I shouldn't be seeing, but I'm seeing the pettiness. I'm seeing like Jimmy Dore is a little bit on the older side. He just doesn't have any time for some early 20s punk ass kid, some pretty boy, and he just doesn't want to have to deal with this shit. Jimmy Dore is a comedian. Hinkle is kind of like a what do you call him? A Chad, I guess is what you would call those boys, like the Chuds. So you could just tell, like, Jimmy Dore probably thought it was great to bring him on because he was getting big. He was a good face. He had a lot really good things to say, but he's starting to realize that Hinkle is just a 20-something-year-old little white kid from Orange County, California. So he's just some spoiled little white boy brat who has had everything handed to him on a silver platter and doesn't have anything really good to say, just probably gets some good points in once in a blue moon, you know, in between the fluff of talking about how amazing he looks and how many girls he probably gets. So yeah, that I could see that Jimmy Dore is really getting sick of Hinkle for sure. So yeah, exactly, Ed. He's a seasoned comedian and he's heard all of it. So if anything, like a comedian are kind of like psychologists, to get their kind of jokes, they have to be able to read people really well. Like they're very good in, like, you know, physical psychology, reading people. So I'm pretty sure he's already read Hinkle up and down. I completely understand. I read people like this too. That's one of my favorite hobbies is reading people. And so I understand by reading Jimmy Dore that you could tell that Jimmy Dore has already read Jackson Hinkle and he's over it. Like he's just done. So yeah, absolutely. You could tell. Jesus Christ, T-Bird. Yeah, you know. Would you hook up with Amber? Would she be worth all of that for you? Yeah, he definitely, Dore did have a falling out. Yeah, exactly. I mean, he was definitely riding the high horse for a really good while. I think his fallout pretty much was, to me at least, not like I backed her or really believed what she said either, but with the whole Anna thing over at TYT with the skirt and stuff like that, I just think personally that Jimmy might have handled that a little bit worse than what he probably should have. But I understand, like, you know, him being a comedian, he's going to do it, but do it that way. I just think as a grown up, he should have handled it. I think that was probably his falling out, was more of that personal thing that happened. There was definitely a big split with that. So for sure, in ways he's doing mentoring service for the younger streamers. Yeah, I could see that. Did you notice he no longer tries to put on the Tucker voice and act? He's sounding more like Nick Fuentes now, apparently. Wait, Jackson Hinkle is? Oh, good to know. Door-to-door robo-dog euthanasia. Who wouldn't? And it's not about Amber's looks, it's about her winning personality. Jesus Christ. Oh, I don't even know what to say to that. Oh God, I wish he would cut off Nick Brana. Dude, that fool started following me on Twitter this morning. I took a screenshot of it and I sent it into my private group, into like this little private gaming group that I'm part of. And so I sent the screenshot that Nick Brana started following me on Twitter this morning. And then I put up the little meme GIF thing, the little Simpson one where it says, Chuckles, I'm in danger. Where he goes, ha, I'm in danger. And I put that up right underneath the Nick Brana followed me. I'm slightly scared. I don't know why he would follow me. Like, who the fuck am I? So weird. Not Jackson based. Jackson too, only because he's gotten so cocky. He has gotten cocky. You just believe all women. I try. I believe a lot of the women. They're just, I have had personal experiences of women trying to ruin, and men too, trying to ruin people's lives over lies as well. So, you believe all women, yes, but then there's like, yeah, Les Bones, you didn't see it in the chat this morning? Yeah. Exactly. Yikes. I don't know why. My husband told me to block him, but I gotta follow him, and just in case, I follow people that I don't even like on Twitter just because I want to, keep up with what they're saying. Like I follow Elon Musk and I don't like him. I follow Donald Trump and I don't like him. So it's just, I've just been following Nick Brana to keep up with what's going on and all, so I could keep up with the news. But yeah, he started following me back this morning. It's creepy. It's super creepy. You believe Hillary won? She said so. Jesus Christ. Who's T-Bird and I love you? Certain someone's going to come after you if they find out Nick Brana. Who's? See, now this is the stuff I'm starting to get scared of. Why is he following me? What would be the fucking point? I'm literally a nobody. I'm a nobody. Those pesky Russian hackers. You too? Is he following you as well, Nick? Oh, man. Maybe he just likes following girls. He's like one of those kind of creeps. Because I know that... What's his name? The guy that just came back, the little red-haired dude. The communist guy that just came back and started doing stuff. I always want to call him Colin, and his name isn't Colin. What's his name? No, I don't know who's going to start coming after me because he's following me. I have no fucking idea. I don't pay attention to that drama at all. I really don't. I've always known that Nick Brana is a creepy dude. I've just always known he's a creepy dude. So I just never, I just follow him because he always keeps getting into the news somehow. So, I don't know him personally. I've never talked to him. I just know people who have talked to him and they're all creepy too. So yeah, Caleb Maupin. So like, I always feel like that's the same, like I said, like Nick Brana is a creepy dude. It's the same thing with Caleb. Caleb started following me years ago before I was even anyone. While I was still like video editing for organizations before I had my face ever on anything publicly. He started following me on Instagram. And then like I got another Instagram account and he started following me on that one too. And I was like, bro, I don't even know who you are. And you just keep following me. Like I would be one of the first like 100 people that he would follow before he got big or something. And it was really weird. Like I felt like he was just following me because like I'm a pretty face or something. And that's how I like, is that what Nick Brana is doing right now too? Like, does he just follow pretty faces? And that's just, that just proves even more that he's like a creep like Caleb as well. So Spank Daddy, shut the fuck up, Les Bones. I'm gonna die. Maybe Twitter puts you up as a recommended follow. Oh, okay. Does he follow more people than he's being followed? Because I don't even know. You weird weirdo. Sorry. No. Definitely, I don't think he needed a video editor. Probably not. He never contacted me. He just started following me and liking a couple of my pictures, and then that was it. Like, then he started getting, this was like back in 2017 before he even started getting, I think this was when he was, that's what it was weird about it, is that he started following me. And he had just started an Instagram, but this was when I was noticing, I think I started following him because I saw him on RT News. He was like a correspondent on RT News at some point. And I was like, oh, I found him on Instagram. I'll start following him because he's an RT News correspondent. And he followed me back like immediately, like absolutely immediately, and was like liking some of my pictures and stuff. And I was like, why is this like famous person on TV who's an RT correspondent, like following me and liking my pictures? It was creepy. Like I'm married, so, and like I have married pictures on my Instagram and stuff, and he was just liking the ones of me by myself. So it was kind of odd and creepy. That's what was really creepy about Caleb. That was the weird thing about Caleb that I didn't really, was like, whoop, okay. But Branya following me this morning, I have no fucking idea what that could be about. I don't know why. I've already been following, I mean, I've only been on Twitter for like a few years, and I've only been active for a year. But I mean, I was following him over on Facebook as well, back when I started getting into politics and working for independent media organizations and stuff in like 2017. I started following him back then, and he's never followed me back, never tried to outreach to me or anything. You know, I've just gone through my life just kind of following him to see what he does, because he had the movement for a People's Party. And then I had my friend Jim, who had the People's Party. So I was just kind of watching Nick Branya rise while I was seeing my friend Jim's party not go anywhere. So I was just kind of seeing what would happen with this person. Found out that he knew the leader of an organization that I was working with that had a very narcissistic leader there. And so I was like, well, if they're going to be friends, then obviously, you know, Nick Branya is not that great of a person. I started hearing things through the grapevines about the movement for a People's Party and how it was being ran there. And it was really dirty and just shady, very shady. So just over the years, I just followed him to see if there was anything that was going to come out of it. And then all of a sudden he started following me this morning, and I don't know why. It's weird. But RT people are kind of nobodies in the USA. Yeah, but see, in like 2017, I didn't think that, because I would see, you know, I would be on, or I would watch RT News, but I would watch like Oliver Stone, and like Oliver Stone's son had something on there. I mean, even during 2017, 2018, I even thought that like Lee Camp was a celebrity, you know? So I was just getting all into all of these. I had never watched RT News before, like I became a progressive. I never even knew there was such thing. And so seeing all these new correspondents and stuff, I just thought that they were celebrities. I didn't realize that they were, you know, just regular ass people. Like now I can look back and say, okay, yeah, there was just some, that's why I think like Caleb was probably, or could have possibly been just some, you know, regular dude thinking I was just some hot chick and wanted to follow me because he's a regular person. So, because I completely understand that now. They're not the celebrities. I mean, Lee Camp, I've, you know, been on screen with Lee Camp's wife now, you know, and I've went and watched Lee Camp at his comedy show. I've actually paid to go and see his comedy show back in the day. So I used to think those guys were celebrities. So I still think Oliver Stone is a celebrity. So that's why I was thinking like, okay, RT News, it just seems like it's this huge, you know, television news corporation that's just doing its own thing. And, you know, these people are celebrities. So that's why I was like, very weirded out at the time of like why Caleb would follow me, but you know, probably just some creepy dude that, you know, likes to look at hot chicks or something. I don't know. So they were, yeah, exactly. In 2017, they were a higher status than they are now. Exactly. Peak RT was 2012 to 2015. Okay. Yeah, exactly. Meow. It's annoying when their personal baggage detracts from their politics. Jesus Christ, cats. See, I told you guys my last hour is going to be my cats fucking running amok everywhere. There was this one really great show that got canceled after 2 years, but they still said it was partially responsible for Trump winning. My country's fucked. Wait, what? Wait, what's the show? Wait, there was one really great show that got canceled after 2 years, but they still said it was partially responsible for Trump winning. They who?
With near impunity, allowing officers to kill remotely will make it easier for officers to mistakenly pull the trigger and impede people's ability to seek justice when wrongful killings occur.
Well, if you had some credibility, these would be good points, ACLU. It could have used you.
Remember when the ACLU still had credibility? I miss those days.
Now it don't matter whether they're right or not.
I miss those
88
days.
likes.
Right? Look at that. 88 likes. That's it. Nobody gives a...
I also don't want to be killed by a police robot. I mean, I know I'm not the...
Hey, we're doing live stand-up comedy.
So somebody in here in this thing really quick made a really good point that he read. Right here, police already shoot black and brown people with near impunity. Allowing officers to kill remotely will make it easier for officers to mistakenly pull the trigger and impede people's ability to seek justice when wrongful killings occur. So like if they do a wrongful killing, yeah, this is crazy. I mean, who are you going to sue? A fucking robot? You know, who's behind it? Who's going to be responsible for it? So, you know, this actually takes accountability off police officers even more than they already have, and turns it into a fucking like a techie's wild, wild west, you know? Why kill people yourself when you can get robots to do it for you? Exactly. It's just like video games. To them, it'll be like, it's like a video game. I swear it didn't feel like real life. It's wild. Crazy, right? My cats did something. They did something. I know they did something. I can hear them. Something crashed, and now I hear something rolling back and forth that probably should not be on the ground right now. What's another one that I saw? Was it another ACLU? Yeah, exactly. So for all those still in disbelief that San Francisco Board of Supervisors gave the police permission to kill with robots, know that your gut was right here. It's a terrible idea. Remote triggers are easy to pull, and you can't take a robot to court. But bam, right fucking there. That was a really good one. But I have to agree with Jimmy. Like, goddamn, when did the ACLU start becoming fucking really, like, you know, fire? So... it's yeah, exactly that. Oh, I'm so glad you guys heard that. Yes, it did bounce. So that's a good thing. I did not hear breaking, or else I would be panicking right now. But yes, they did drop something. It's interesting that you all heard that. That's awesome. That's all I have for the robot police in San Francisco. It looks like it's coming. I don't know what we're gonna do or what, you know. It looks like the Board of Supervisors approved of it. So, oh yeah, that's right. You sent me something. Hold on here. This is more about it. So San Francisco. Oh, it cancels the plans. No way. So we're not getting the killer robots. Wait, who sent this to me? Bacon for president. My life needs to be a movie. What the fuck is going on? I love it. Okay. So San Francisco cancels the plans for killer robots. Okay. The supervisors has nixed their plans to allow police officers to use robots to kill in emergency situations. Okay, the people of San Francisco have spoken loud and clear. There's no place for killer robots in our cities. There have been more killings in the hands of the police than any other year on record nationwide. We should be working on ways to decrease the use of force by local law enforcement, not giving them new tools to kill people. 100. News comes the day after community groups protested outside the city hall condemning the ordinance, which the San Francisco Board of Supervisors approved in an 8-3 vote on November 29th. See, the Board of Supervisors actually wanted it to happen. Only 3 did not vote for it. 8 did. Before the board's vote reversing course, the American Civil Liberties Union of Northern California told ABC that it was a terrible idea to let cops use robots for deadly force. Allowing them to kill remotely will lead to more mistakes, and as we have seen many times before with other police weapons, to more frequent use. In a letter to Mayor and city board members, dozens of racial justice groups, civil rights and civil liberties organizations, LGBTQ organizations, and labor unions called for board members to change their votes, saying the use of robots would be dangerous to not only San Francisco residents, but to people who visit the city. That's right. Yeah, I mean, can you imagine like you wanting to go and visit San Francisco and you get bombed by a fucking robot just because you happen to be at the wrong place at the wrong fucking time? Good Lord. But you don't even know, like, you know, you don't watch the news, so you don't even know that there's such thing as police bomb robots, you know? That would have been fucking terrifying if that happened. Bacon for president. And shaking bacon running in 2024. Hey, yeah, let's get bacon and shaking bacon running together. Bacon 2024. That shit would be hilarious. Oh, that would be great. Syllabomb Valley. Jesus, hell yes. Oh, Lordy. We're all going to hell. Thank fucking God. San Francisco PD proposal would allow officers to send these robots to all arrests and search and all searches with warrants, and to protest if police decide that exigent circumstances or other flexible justifications in the policy apply. No, thank you. I'm glad this didn't get approved because this is sad if it did. The San Francisco PD did not respond to ABC News' request for comment about the board's reversal, but did defend the passage of the law enforcement equipment policy on a December 1 press release, saying that it only planned to deploy the robots for potential lethal force in extreme circumstances to save or prevent further loss of life. Yeah, I mean, like they were saying, I think it was on the Jimmy Dore show or somewhere else. It might have been like The Hill or someone else was talking about it. Like they were using the Las Vegas thing as an example to use these bomb robots. And then somebody was like, how would you even use that as an example? Like you're going to send a robot with a bomb up to a hotel floor where like, you know, a hotel is in Las Vegas. Like that's fucking stupid to do, even think about something like that, which they were goddamn right. So. Bacon. The use of robots in potentially deadly force situations is a last resort option. We live in a time when unthinkable mass violence is becoming more commonplace. San Francisco Police Chief Scott said at the time, we need the option to be able to save lives in the event we have that type of tragedy in our city. Womp womp. Womp womp. You don't get to. It's been canceled. Cancel. See, there's one thing I'm okay with canceling. Deadly robots. Let's cancel deadly robots. Hashtag cancel deadly robots. Wicked bacon. That's awesome. Y'all are making me hungry as fuck right now. Damn. I'm stoned and I'm hungry. Okay, that is the end of my show, so I can go eat now. So, what do I search for to get the report on the Russian hacking of the election or whatever? I don't even know. I don't know. Probably you just search mainstream media. You'll probably everything. There's fucking Rachel Maddow still talks about Trump every day. So order a pizza. There you go. Yeah. I don't have any good pizzas around here. Just Domino's. That's it. That's all I have is Domino's. Just one Domino's and that's all. But I'm definitely going to eat for sure. I do have bagel bites. They're like little pizzas. They're like this big. They're like little mini pizzas. I could probably eat those for sure. All right. Thank you all for coming. All of you fucking Twitch people. I love you all. Holy shit. There's still like a good amount of you guys here. Thank you for the new follows, M9300, OG Snowbone, and T-Bird. T-Bird the third. Thank you for the follow. Sid the Oreo earlier. Thank you for the follow as well. Rivet Head, thank you for the follow yesterday, and thank you for coming back again today. I'm still getting used to the whole Twitch stuff, so thank you so much for the support over there, and thank you, Nikki, for sending the raid. I love you. I appreciate you. You are amazing. I love you and thank you. Raid Skadefron. Okay, you got it. We're gonna raid Skadefron because he's awesome too, and I really enjoy his stuff. He started a stream called "It's Raining" and yesterday, and it was so cool. I enjoy watching him. So we are definitely going to start rating him today. There's Putin's puppet. She had to say goodbye herself. We got about 4 seconds, and then I'm going to send you guys over to. Oh, he always puts that. Okay, okay, that makes sense. Okay, so you guys are getting ready to head over there now, and here you go. I think they left. I think so. I think so. I think so. I think so. Nope, not yet. Maybe. Let me try one more time. Okay, it did say I rated them. I'm so lost. There it goes. Now I said I rated them. Okay. All right, you guys. Wednesday. Is it Thursday? It's Thursday. I have no idea what shows are coming on other than Joe Evans' show today. It's the Cup of Joe. He'll be here on YouTube later on. So definitely want to check him out. I will be back on tomorrow for my live show. I'll be releasing clips throughout the day. Maybe only a couple. I think there's only a couple that are probably worthy enough to do that. So Jimmy takes over Twitch day one. I wish. I've been on Twitch for so long. I'm just like, it's all Nikki. Nikki hooks it up. Well, it was awesome. I love her to death. So go check all of those things out today. I don't know. I'm stoned now. So you guys, I'm going to read my little thing that I say. I'm going to get off of here before because I'm so stoned. Thanks, guys. You guys are awesome. Remember to get angry, get smart, get moving. And I love you all. Peace out.